Chapter 879. Girls who were in the honeymoon phase of their relationship were almost blind and unhesitant about love. She could tell that Xiao Shui cared a lot about Gao Nan. Having been friends with her for so long, her impression of the latter had always been that she was a resolute and decisive woman. She was very picky when it came to men. However, this was understandable. After all, she came from a superior family, and she would not take a fancy to ordinary men. During her few years in college, there were many boys who chased after her, but she said that relationships in college would always end in failure, so she did not want to waste time. As for Gao Nan, she could tell that she had feelings for him. After all, this was the first time she saw the shyness and dependence of a young woman on her face. This was especially true when she was leaning against Gao Nan with adoration in her eyes. She must love Gao Nan a lot, right? Even if she believed her words, how big of a blow would she suffer if she knew Gao Nan's true colors? Moreover, as Gao Nan said, this was their relationship, and she was in no position to interfere, right? Still, she could only sit back and watch her best friend be played by a scumbag. She really could not bear it. Yun Shishir looked like she wanted to say something but stopped herself. Seeing this, Xiao Shui asked, "What's wrong? Why do you look so pale? Are you feeling unwell?" "No." She shook her head. Xiao Shui, who was known for being impatient, became even more anxious. "Did someone bully you then? Tell me who dares to bully our Shishir." Yun Shishir looked at her and finally made up her mind. Just as she was about to speak, she saw Gao Nan walking toward their seats. Her words got stuck in her throat. Gao Nan returned to his seat, but there was no change in his expression. He sat down and naturally reached out to hug Xiao Shui's shoulders. The expression on his face was completely different from the frivolous one he had in front of her earlier. "You must have waited for a long time. Why did you take so long to answer a call?" She could not help grumbling. "It was a call from the company. There's something I need to talk to you about," Gao Nan said concisely before he shot Yun Shishir a meaningful look. The latter felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles, and his expression was even more unsightly. After chatting with Gao Nan for a while, Xiao Shui turned to Yun Shishir and asked, "Shishir, you don't look well. What's wrong?" Yun Shishir glanced at Gao Nan and pretended to be calm. "Maybe I've been exposed to the air conditioner for too long. It's a little cold and uncomfortable." "Then why didn't you say so earlier? I feel cold too." With that said, Xiao Shui called the waiter and told him to turn up the temperature of the air conditioner. After that, Xiao Shui eloquently told her the interesting anecdotes in the company. Yun Shishir couldn't help but lose interest after what happened just now. Toward the end, Xiao Shui was about to leave with Gao Nan's arm when Yun Shishir suddenly said, "Xiao Shui, can you send me home? Now, I'm afraid I can't get a taxi." As she said this, she planned to have a good chat with Xiao Shui in private. Xiao Shui had always been her best friend, and she didn't want to see her go astray. "I didn't drive today. Why don't I get Gao Nan to drive you?" "That's not very good. Shishir, why are you being so polite with me? Then why don't I get my assistant to pick me up? It just so happens that I've moved to a new place. You can come over to my place." Yun Shishir immediately said. "Shishir, you've moved?" Chapter 880. Yun Shishir suddenly said, "Is it okay if it's just the two of us? I have some private matters to discuss with you." With that, she turned to him. "You won't mind, right?" "How could that be?" Gao Nan smiled, but it was a fake one. He looked deeply at her before lowering his head to kiss her cheek. "Give me a call when you're home." With that, he left. Yun Shishir called Mu Shi, who happened to be free, and replied that she would be there in 15 minutes. Now there were only the two of them left. Yun Shishir suddenly asked, "Xiao Shui, how long have you been dating Gao Nan?" "It's been more than half a month," Xiao Shui said. Suddenly, a smile appeared on her face. "Time really flies. I feel like I'm dreaming. Shishir, do you know? When I confessed to him, I didn't expect him to agree to be with me. Still, the truth is that we've been dating for more than half a month. It's unbelievable. Do you like him that much?" "Of course. You know that I'm quite picky when it comes to boyfriends. Gao Nan fulfills all my fantasies of a boyfriend." Xiao Shui talked about how she felt that she had fallen in love with Gao Nan at first sight when she first entered the company, and that she already had feelings for him at first sight. "He's tall, handsome, talented, and capable. I never believed in love at first sight, but it turns out that there's such a thing in this world." "Then?" Yun Shishir suddenly probed. "Do you know him well?" Xiao Shui was stunned, a look of disappointment appearing on her face. "If I knew him well, I wouldn't be so insecure." "Chem? Do you know? Gao Nan is so outstanding that many girls in the company like him. He's really annoying. I have to face so many love rivals every day at work, and this is also the reason why I've persisted in the company for so long. She sounded a little desolate. Sometimes I admire his excellence, but most of the time, I wish that he wasn't so outstanding. Do you know? I accidentally saw a message from him last time. A girl actually confessed to him despite knowing that he has a girlfriend. Sure, I'm really uneasy. I'm afraid of losing him. Isn't your relationship quite stable? Yun Sure did not know whether to laugh or cry. You've already planned to meet his parents, isn't it too soon? That's because I really like him. Xiao Shui felt aggrieved. Sure, I have something to ask you. Emichim, do you think that two people who love each other give everything to each other without holding anything back? I mean, in that aspect. Xiao Shui, her face blushing. He said that he wants me? Yun Sure was stunned for a moment before quickly understanding the meaning behind her words. Xiao Shui, I remember you said before that you're against premarital sex. When they were in university, Xiao Shui vowed that she would save her virginity for her wedding night. Yes. But Gaonan said, what era are we in now? We don't value those things as much. Xiao Shui looked distressed. Chapter 881. Mushi arrived soon after. The car drove them back to Xiangdi Walk. When Xiao Shui saw the garden bungalow, her face was full of surprise. Wow, it's a garden bungalow. Gosh, there are only 2 garden bungalows in Xiangdi Walk. Sure, is this your new home? Yes, it is. She was in disbelief. I heard that this garden bungalow isn't for sale. What? Xiao Shui said, when my brother got married, he took a fancy to this garden bungalow and planned to buy it for his wedding home. It's not expensive, but I heard that this is a project reserved by the real estate company and not for sale to the public. This garden bungalow occupies almost all of the prime real estate in Xiangdi Walk. Sure, how much did you buy for this house? About tens of millions? Yun Sure was a little confused. To be honest, this house was given to her by Mu Yaja, and her name was registered on the property deed. The entire Xiangdi Walk was under the Mu Group's name, so it was only a matter of time before Mu Yaja gave her this house. My brother offered 100 million yuan, but he didn't get it. Xiao Shui's face was filled with envy and regret. Yun Sure could not help but be a little absent-minded. Thus, she brought her to visit the bungalow. Xiao Shui especially liked the back garden. Girls liked romance, so the back garden was full of Chinese roses. Sure, you still like Chinese roses that much? Yes. That's because my mother loved Chinese roses the most when she was alive, Sure answered. I like roses. If I have such a back garden, I'll definitely plant them all. It'll be beautiful. Xiao Shui twirled in the flowers with a bright smile. Yu returned home after shopping for groceries and heard the sound of frolicking in the garden. He walked in and saw Yun Sure and Xiao Shui swinging gently on the swing. Mommy. Any Xiao Shui? Yu called out obediently. As soon as Xiao Shui saw him, she was immediately struck by his adorable look. She rushed over and pulled him into her arms. Auntie misses you so much. Do you miss Auntie? I don't want to. I've almost forgotten who you are. Despite her thoughts, Yu still had an innocent smile on her face. Yes. Ow. So cute. My heart is about to melt because of you. Xiao Shui refused to let go of him. I want to have a cute little boy like Yu with Gao Nan in the future. Yun Sure could not help but laugh. Yu slipped out of her arms and smiled elegantly. Auntie, take your time. I'm going to make dinner. Yu can cook? Xiao Shui was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe it. However, when it came to dinner, when she sat in front of the table and looked at the sumptuous dishes on the table, her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Yu was obedient and cute, and he even did the housework. She thought of her cousin. He was the same age as Yu, but he didn't know anything other than eating, drinking, and having fun. There was no comparison. Comparisons were odious. Xiao Shui was envious and jealous. She kept praising Yun Sure for being lucky. Yun Sure was tickled by her envious, jealous, and hateful expression. Don't worry. You can have one in the future. Sure, why don't you let Yu acknowledge me as his godmother? Xiao Shui bit her handkerchief with tears in her eyes. Chapter 882. She purposely teased him. Yu, why don't you want me to be your aunt? No. Yu smiled obediently. I only have one daddy and one mommy. Xiao Shui was amused by his serious look. All right. I won't tease you anymore. After dinner, Xiao Shui left. Yun Sure thought of something and gave her manager a call. Qingzhou, are you busy? Yes. His voice sounded muffled as if he had just woken up. Tell me what's the matter? is like this. Yun Shishir pondered for a moment. Do you know anything about Qingguang Entertainment? Qingguang Entertainment? The manager was silent for a moment before humming in response. What's wrong with Qingguang Entertainment? Yun Shishir remembered that Xiao Shui had mentioned that Gao Nan's mother was the director of Qingguang Entertainment called Gao Shi something. Gao Sisi. Qin Zhou gave a brief introduction. It turned out that Qingguang Entertainment was the second biggest star-making dream factory in China after Huanyu Entertainment. The director of Qingguang Entertainment, Gao Sisi, had an extraordinary background. She held a high position in the entertainment industry and had a wide network. The reason why Gao Sisi's background was extraordinary was because Gao Sisi's father was a powerful figure. The Gao family was unlike the Song family. The Song family was a century-old scholarly family, and Old Master Song was one of the founding fathers of the country. Gao Sisi's father, on the other hand, was a big shot in the Gao family. It was said that he was an important figure on par with Old Master Song and was one of the 8 founding generals of the country. Therefore, Gao Sisi was a typical second-generation heir. Gao Nan's father, Li Muzhang, was a live-in son-in-law. The reason why he had the status he had today was mainly because of the Gao family's power. Therefore he was very afraid of Gao Sisi, and even his son Gao Nan took the latter's surname. This was because he had no status in the Gao family. Everything he had now was nothing without the Gao family. Gao Sisi doted on her son very much, which resulted in the latter's willful character. Gao Nan was a well-known playboy in the industry. He had slept with almost all the female artistes under Qingguang Entertainment. Qin Zhou replied, Gao Nan has a bad reputation in the circle. Those female stars in Qingguang Entertainment were all chosen by him. Gao Sisi dotes on this son of his and indulges him almost without limit. Yun Shishir did not expect Xiao Shui's boyfriend to be such a man. If I talk about his romantic past, it will definitely topple your worldview. Gao Nan's character was unpredictable, and he was short-lived when it came to women. One day he would speak sweet nothings to you, but the next day he would toss you far away in the blink of an eye when he had a new lover. In this circle, there was no woman he couldn't get his hands on. If the woman resisted him in the slightest, he would resort to underhanded means to force her. Do you know Lin Yun? Well, wasn't it very popular a while ago? She was kept by Gao Nan for a year, and he promised her that he would use all his resources to support her. Therefore, all the A-list female stars under Qingguang Entertainment are related to Gao Nan in some way. As for what kind of relationship they have, I don't think I need to spell it out. Yun Shishir felt disgusted. It turned out that he was not only a scumbag but also a stud horse. Chapter 883. Qin Zhou deliberately tried to scare her. After a pause, he asked in confusion, Why did you suddenly mention this person? It's nothing, I'm just asking. Gao Nan will use all means at the banquet if he fancies a woman. Shishir, you're in the entertainment industry and the waters are deep. You must know how to protect yourself. Qin Zhou advised her once more. Yun Shishir thanked him. After hanging up the phone, Yun Shishir leaned on the sofa in a daze and fell into deep thought. According to Qin Zhou, Gao Nan had a bad reputation in the industry. If he had so many women around him, why would he still want to be with Xiao Shui? To me, women only serve 2 purposes. One is a woman of equal social status. Marriage with her can expand the family's territory. The other is a woman like you, a tool to satisfy his physiological needs. Yun Shishir suddenly recalled his words. Could Xiao Shui be the first type? Did he only choose her for the sake of his family's alliance through marriage? Unable to sit idly by, Yun Shishir decided to have a good talk with her friend. At the very least, she must let her see the man's true colors. Yun Shishir initially did not want to attend the class reunion the next day. After all, the class reunion was meaningless to her. So what if the class monitor wanted to go abroad? If he wanted to have a successful class reunion before he went abroad, was she obligated to fulfill his wish? She recalled the rumors and slanders that slandered her in college, as well as her classmates' indifference and suspicion toward her. She had no feelings for her college classmates and could not even remember their names. However, at the thought of Xiao Shui and Gao Nan attending, she decided to attend the banquet despite her worries. The time was set at 7 p.m. dinner time. While Yun Shishir was choosing a dress in the wardrobe, Mu Yaja suddenly arrived. When she opened the door and saw Mu Yaja leaning lazily against the door frame, she was slightly surprised and puzzled. Why are you here? Can't I come? Mu Yaja strode in with his long legs. Seeing that she had put on makeup for the first time, he was extremely sensitive and sized her up. Are you going out? Yes. Where to? Date? Yun Shirshir said subconsciously. Mu Yaja's expression immediately changed. Yun Shirshir immediately corrected herself. It's a class reunion. Class reunion? Mu Yaja was obviously suspicious. According to your character, you wouldn't attend such a boring gathering. Yun Shirshir was embarrassed. Did this man know her personality so well? Because, I'll go with you, Mu Yaja said, not allowing her to refuse. Yun Shirshir's lips twitched. Where are you going? To accompany you. Mu Yaja's words were concise and comprehensive. In fact, he didn't want anything to take up her time. It was rare for him to be free, but in the end she wanted to go to some so-called class reunion? If he had to go, then he would go. But such an occasion will be very boring. Aren't you afraid of being bored? Mu Yaja curled his lips and reached out to lift a strand of hair that had fallen over her shoulder, sniffing it. With you around, I won't feel bored anywhere. Okay. It didn't matter if he went. Since Gao Nan was going with Xiao Shui, it didn't matter if she followed. But if you go, there's only one condition. What condition? Keep a low profile. Mu Yaja raised his handsome brows. How so? Yun Shirshir fell silent. Chapter 884. She was only going because of Xiao Shui and did not want to pay attention to other unimportant people. Okay, I'll listen to you, Mu Yaja said. Yun Shirshir was satisfied. She was actually quite perturbed. After all, she did not have a good impression of those classmates. She only hoped that she could pretend to be invisible when she went there. It would be best if she was ignored and left after having a meal. Her main purpose was to keep an eye on Gao Nan. It would be best if she could find an opportunity to let Xiao Shui see the man's true colors. Yun Shirshir returned to her room to choose a dress. However, the clothes in her wardrobe were all selected by Qin Zhou, which were too eye-catching. In order to keep a low profile, she specially chose a snow-white dress and a denim vest. After changing, she walked out of the bedroom and walked up to Mu Yaja. She tugged at the hem of her dress unnaturally. Look, is this dress okay? It's so plain? Mu Yaja frowned, obviously dissatisfied. It's too plain. It doesn't look good. It's not a fashion banquet. It's just an ordinary class reunion. There's no need to be so picky about what to wear. Simple is fine. Yun Shirshir thought so. Mu Yaja disagreed. That's true, but the clothes look good, generous and decent. Yours is too tender. At first glance, she looked like a young high school student, which did not suit her temperament at all. But the clothes in my wardrobe are too revealing. Qin Zhou picked them for me to wear to the banquet. It's not good to wear them at a class reunion. Mu Yaja did not believe her and personally picked one for her. However, just like what Yun Shirshir had said, the clothes in the wardrobe were all either backless or cleavage. They were all fashionable gowns for dinner parties, so they were indeed not suitable for her. Therefore, he personally took her to the shopping mall and went to the counter to pick out a socialite strapless organza dress for her. The dress was very slim-fitting and showed off her figure. The burgundy color of the dress made her snow-white skin look even more beautiful. She had a slim figure and was low-key, but it didn't lose its luxuriousness. She looked very decent. She wouldn't stand out too much at a class reunion, but she wouldn't lose her luster when standing among a group of well-dressed women. Yun Shirshir also felt that this dress was suitable. It was almost 6 o'clock. There was a traffic jam on the road at this time. It was time to set off. Thus, she suggested, "Shall we take a taxi?" Why did you take a taxi? Mu Yaja was puzzled. He drove today, so why did he take a taxi? But, you drive a sports car. Wouldn't that be too high profile? The man could not help but laugh. Why are you being so careful? Because, Yun Shirshir lowered her eyes and a complicated look flashed across her eyes. However, she didn't intend to hide it and only said, "When I was in university, someone slandered me and said that I was a canary kept by a rich man. So, I want to keep a low profile and avoid those gossips. I don't want to be misunderstood." Even if she said that she didn't care about what others thought, did she really not care? When she thought of the belittling and slandering she suffered in university, she still felt a lingering fear. Those rumors and slanders really bothered her and hurt her. When Mu Yaja heard that, he was stunned but reached out and stroked her hair to comfort her. It's different now. Chapter 885. I'm here. Mu Yaja's simple words gave her a great sense of relief. Before they left, Jianghu called. "Shirshir, are you coming today?" Yun Shirshir smiled. "Yeah, I'm about to leave." "Wow, that's great. Shirshir, the whole class will go crazy if you come." Then she suddenly felt a little embarrassed. "When are you leaving?" "Right away." "Is it convenient for you to pick me up?" Yun Shirshir said a little embarrassedly, There are only 2 seats in the car. I can't fit all of you. Muyaja's car was a convertible sports car with only 2 seats. It's okay, I'll take a taxi, Jiangli said. Oh, is your husband sending you there on a bike? Husband, on a bike? Yun Shishir was embarrassed. When she heard that the car only had 2 seats, Jiangli thought that her car was an electric scooter. See you later, Shishir. Then Jiangli hung up the phone. Muyaja drove to Yongya private clubhouse and threw the keys to the security guard at the entrance. He asked him to park the car and gave him a tip along the way. Yongya private clubhouse was said to be a place for the rich to pass time. Just a membership card was enough for ordinary people to work hard for half their lives. When she walked into the private clubhouse, she saw the stylish decor and elegant lighting. Yun Shishir saw Jiangli standing in front of the mural and looking at it. She called out, Jiangli. Jiangli turned around. When she saw her, she was about to greet her excitedly. However, when Muyaja stepped through the door, she was stunned. Oh my God, what a handsome man. He was like a statue of the gods, a perfect work of art. The man stood beside Yun Shishir. He had a golden ratio figure and his legs were straight and slender. He was wearing a simple white shirt and black trousers. However, even with such a simple outfit, Jiangli felt that this man's aura was terrifying. He should be a high and mighty figure. The man had fair skin, well-defined facial features and deep, dark eyes. They were suffused with a charming luster, but they were cold and unapproachable. He had a handsome nose and extremely sexy thin lips. This was a breathtakingly handsome man. From the moment he stepped through the door, the large foyer seemed to become even more resplendent. The man had been silent the whole time. He exuded the aura of an emperor from head to toe. He was elegant and calm. At a glance, one could tell that he was either rich or noble. Jiangli could not help but find it difficult to breathe. At first, she wondered who this man was and why he suddenly appeared here. However, when she saw the man standing beside Yun Shishir and reaching out to hook his arm around her shoulder, she couldn't help but be stunned. Her face was full of excitement. Shishir, he's your husband. Jiangli looked back and forth between the man and her in a daze. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. He had to admit that this handsome man and Yun Shishir looked very compatible when they stood next to each other. Yun Shishir was about to speak, but Muyaja beat her to it. Hello. His voice was not deliberately cold, but his tone was indifferent and did not have any warmth. However, he did not deny Jiangli's suspicions. Therefore, Jiangli tacitly agreed that he was Yun Shishir's husband. Chapter 886. It was not that she was not envious. Not only was this man handsome, but he also had the grace and elegance of a noble. Thinking about her husband, Jiangli felt lucky that she did not bring her husband along today. Otherwise, she would feel embarrassed when compared to Yun Shishir's man. Everyone had a sense of vanity, and so did Jiangli. Seeing that Yun Shishir could find such an outstanding and handsome man, Jiangli was naturally envious. Yun Shishir asked, Jiangli, are you the only one here? No, I just arrived too. Lily has already sent the private room number to the WeChat group. Let's go in. Okay. The waiter immediately came over to lead the way. Jiangli had never been to such a place and felt very reserved. Hence, she quietly tugged at Yun Shishir's sleeve and whispered, Shishir, this is my first time coming to such a place. This place looks so classy. Is it very expensive? Yun Shishir also smiled. It's my first time here too. I don't know why Huang Lily chose such a place. It makes me feel quite reserved and uncomfortable. Jiangli said sincerely. The waiter walked in front. When he heard Jiangli's words, a look of disdain appeared on his face. One look at the way this person spoke and one could tell that he was a commoner. This was a private clubhouse with a membership system. One could not spend money here just because they had money. The prerequisite was that one had to have status to be able to enter and become a member here. The waiter brought them to the private room and pushed the door open. Jiangli had just stepped in when she was shocked by the scene that entered her eyes. She had thought that it was just a small private room. She did not expect this private room to be more than 300 square meters in size. After entering, there was a huge living room. After passing through a long corridor, there was a billiard room, a chess room, a dining room. The entire private room was extremely luxurious. It was carved with jade, and it was a gorgeous palace pavilion. The room was equipped with the most luxurious fabrics, furniture, and facilities. With the rich and lively colors, the unrestrained and grand layout, and the beautiful lines that were close to nature, it appeared luxurious, comfortable, and noble. Jiangli did not dare to show her surprise on her face. She could only admire it in her heart, but she could not help but be shocked. This was the first time she had stepped into such a luxurious place. In the living room, almost all the students in the class had arrived. Yun Shishir held Mu Yaja's arm and stepped in. However, as soon as Mu Yaja stepped into the living room, endless exclamations could be heard. My God! Who is this man? So handsome! Who is this man? So handsome! So handsome, so handsome! His eyes are so attractive, deep and handsome. Oh my God! Is this male god a celebrity? I've never seen a more handsome celebrity than him. This man is even more handsome than Gu Xingzi. He and Yun Shishir are standing together. They look so intimate. Could it be? A group of students immediately gathered around and greeted Yun Shishir. Shishir, you're here. Do you still remember my name? Shishir, how many years has it been since we last saw each other? I've been looking forward to seeing you at the class reunion. I didn't expect you to really come today. A group of people greeted her all at once. Yun Shishir forced a smile and exchanged pleasantries. However, it was inevitable that she was overwhelmed and felt a little awkward for a moment. After a short exchange of pleasantries, someone quickly changed the topic from her. Chapter 887. The group of people stared straight at Mu Yaja, obviously waiting for Yun Shishir to introduce him. Yun Shishir and Mu Yaja looked at each other, not knowing how to introduce him. Boyfriend? Husband? But they hadn't gotten their marriage certificate yet. Mu Yaja was also waiting for her, wanting to see how she would introduce him. Just as Yun Shishir was feeling troubled, Huang Lili walked over, swaying her body. She had put a lot of effort into dressing up today, with her wavy hair and exquisite makeup on her face. When she was in school, Huang Lili was known far and wide as the campus belle. The reason why she was known far and wide was because there were many university branches in that area, and several schools were close to each other. Therefore, Huang Lili's reputation was well known even in other universities. Her facial features were gorgeous to begin with. Now that she had exquisite makeup on her face, purple eyeshadow, red and tender lips, and was wearing a long bohemian dress, she looked noble and outstanding. She walked slowly in front of Yun Shishir. When the two campus belles stood face to face, the whole room fell silent. It had been 2 to 3 years since they graduated, but Huang Lili had changed a lot. She had become more sexy, more noble and more wild. However, Yun Shishir stood in front of her, still looking elegant and refined, as if time couldn't be seen on her at all. Time was peaceful. In the past, Yun Shishir was the campus belle of the university. Therefore many people including Huang Lili liked to compare them with Yun Shishir. On the school forum, there were often nosy students who compared the campus belle. Usually Yun Shishir had the most fans. Huang Lili couldn't help but bear a grudge. The reason Yun Shishir didn't want to attend the class reunion was because of Huang Lili. Huang Lili had a deep grudge against her. There was no other reason. When they were in school, Huang Lili had a crazy crush on a boy. This boy was handsome and was a famous campus hunk in the university. As for his name, Yun Shishir naturally forgot about it. She only knew that, just like the melodramatic plot arrangement, this boy had once pursued her crazily. Therefore Huang Lili was jealous of Yun Shishir and had several conflicts with her. During her 4 years in university, Huang Lili had always been suppressed by Yun Shishir. In terms of grades, she couldn't compare to Yun Shishir. In terms of beauty, she was often compared to Yun Shishir. Huang Lili had never forgotten the humiliation and bitterness she had suffered. However, things were different now. She, Huang Lili, was no longer the Huang Lili of the past. After graduation, Huang Lili got rid of her boyfriend in school and hooked up with a rich and powerful man. Now, with the help of her boyfriend's power, her career was going smoothly, and she was only one step away from a wealthy family. Huang Lili stood in front of Yun Shishir and looked at her. Although she had a smile on her face, she was cursing in her heart. Shishir, long time no see. Huang Lili smiled and stretched out her slender hand. Yun Shishir smiled and shook her hand, but suddenly felt a sharp pain in her hand, and the smile on her face froze. Huang Lili had a polite smile on her face, but the strength she used to hold her hand was not small. It was indeed a trap. Chapter 888. Who is this? She pursed her red lips and spoke elegantly, waiting for Yun Shishir to introduce him. This is my boyfriend. Yun Shishir introduced him with a smile. Mu Yaja's expression darkened. I thought he was Shishir's husband. He's so handsome. Yeah, Shishir and her boyfriend are a good match. Yun Shishir glanced at Mu Yaja and said, but he's about to be promoted. Promoted? Promoted to husband? Shishir, when do you plan to register your marriage? Yun Shishir replied, it's not decided yet. When the banquet is held, you must send me an invitation. I'll give you a big red packet. Shishir, how did you meet your husband? Shishir, what does your husband do for a living? Yun Shishir pursed her lips and answered, "He's a company employee." Employee? Suddenly someone laughed. Then the crowd fell silent for a moment. At first, many people thought that Muyaja was a rich young master when they saw his noble aura. They didn't expect him to be an ordinary employee. The atmosphere became awkward. Jianghu frowned. There were so many people surrounding her just now talking about Shishir and Shishir. Why did the crowd fall silent when Shishir said that her husband was a company employee? That was too snobbish. So what if he was a company employee? Huang Lili seemed to want to smooth things over. However, the moment she opened her mouth, the atmosphere became even more awkward. My boyfriend started as a company employee. He's a manager now. As soon as she finished speaking, someone laughed and said, "Lily, how can you compare? Your boyfriend is a rich second-generation heir. That company is your boyfriend's family business. It's different." Yeah. Lily, I'm so envious of you. If you get married to your boyfriend, then you'll be a phoenix and a young mistress of a wealthy family. Huang Lili pursed her lips into a smile and pretended to be shy. Don't make fun of me. Our Lily is going to be the young mistress of a wealthy family in the future. I really envy Lily. Unfortunately, I don't have such good fortune. For a moment, everyone gathered around Huang Lili, trying their best to flatter her. On the surface, Huang Lili looked decent and generous, but inside she was already bursting with joy. For a moment, the limelight actually overshadowed Yun Shishir. This was the first time. There was no need to mention how pleased he was. Lily, where's your boyfriend? He's still in the company. He'll probably arrive a little later. Huang Lili smiled apologetically. Everyone go ahead and play. There's no need to wait for him. How can that be? It's all right. Let's wait a little longer. Not long after, Xiao Shui and Gao Nan arrived along with their class monitor, Meng Qinghe. Meng Qinghe had just entered the private room, and the moment he saw Yun Shishir, the excitement on his face was beyond words. As soon as Gao Nan entered the room, he saw Yun Shishir sitting with an unfamiliar but handsome man. Naturally, he had never seen Muyaja before, so he was full of doubts. Who is this man? He seems to be very intimate with Yun Shishir. Gao Nan's gaze never left Yun Shishir. Yun Shishir did not pay much attention to him. However, Muyaja noticed this man. When he saw the man's gaze on Yun Shishir's body, a dangerous glint flashed in his eyes. Since they were both men, Muyaja naturally noticed the lust in Gao Nan's eyes. Chapter 889. In response to Muyaja's move, which was tantamount to a declaration of sovereignty, Gao Nan merely sneered. The two men, one standing and one standing, stared at each other with tit for tat. Naturally, Gao Nan did not know Muyaja's identity, but in the capital, he had never feared anyone because of his superior family background. So what if the woman he wanted was already taken? As long as he fancied a woman, Gao Nan had the means to snatch her away. Seeing Xiao Shui and Gao Nan appear, a group of people surrounded them. Xiao Shui was quite popular in class, so many people surrounded her the moment she arrived. Xiao Shui, is this your husband? No, he's my boyfriend. What's the difference between a boyfriend and a husband? We're not married yet. Your boyfriend is so handsome and tall. What does he do? I heard that Gao Nan's mother is a senior executive in Qingguang Entertainment. Ah, gosh. Then Gao Nan must know a lot of celebrities. Gao Nan chuckled. It's all right. Isn't there a big celebrity standing in front of you? Who is it? Everyone exchanged glances. Xiao Shui said smugly, Shishir? Don't you guys usually go on Weibo? Everyone immediately cried out, we're usually so busy with work, how can we have time to check Weibo? I remember now. Isn't there a movie that's being filmed recently? It's called The Green Apple. Someone slapped her forehead, and then her shocked gaze fell on Yun Shishir. Gosh, I remember now. Shishir, are you filming a movie? I saw it at first, but I didn't recognize it because the style is different. The Green Apple? That's a movie starring my male god. Shishir, are you really the female lead in it? For a moment, everyone surrounded Yun Shishir, and their eyes were filled with amazement, envy, and jealousy. Yun Shishir majored in media, and very few people could achieve a meteoric rise. After all, the entertainment industry was full of talents, and not everyone had the chance to make a name for themselves. Yun Shishir was the first. Huang Lili was a little unhappy when she saw a group of people around Yun Shishir. She said sourly, Shishir, I'm really happy that you can realize your dream. Sigh, acting has always been my dream, but my Jian doesn't allow me to enter the entertainment industry. What? Someone immediately asked, Lily, you've always said that you must become an outstanding actress. That's because Jian said that the entertainment industry is a foul place. Most of the female celebrities who come from the entertainment industry aren't clean. Jian was worried that I would be bullied. Jian's mother said that the women in the entertainment industry are all actors and are very dirty. As soon as she said this, Xiao Shui's expression changed. Wasn't Huang Lili implying that Yun Shishir was an actress? Even though she said that the entertainment industry was dirty on the surface, she was actually insinuating that Yun Shishir was a dirty actress. Everyone understood the meaning behind Huang Lili's words, and the atmosphere inevitably became a little awkward. Only Yun Shishir sat in her seat without a trace of anger on her face. She was calm and composed. Chapter 890. Her words made it seem like she was trying to cover it up. Xiao Shui thought to herself, this Huang Lili is too much. She's obviously targeting me. She looked at Yun Shishir, only to see her pursed lips smiling. You're telling the truth. Yun Shishir blinked her bright eyes and smiled. The entertainment industry isn't as clean as everyone thinks. Your boyfriend is worried that you'll be bullied because he loves you. Hearing this, Huang Lili's ears felt very comfortable, and she felt a burst of comfort in her heart. Yun Shishir continued, however, only those who aren't capable rely on unspoken rules to get to where they are. Huang Lili's face froze. Xiao Shui couldn't help but laugh. Even Mu Yaja couldn't help but smile. This little woman is so sharp-tongued. How could she be so easily bullied? Everyone's faces were full of emotions and their expressions were subtle. Yun Shishir immediately added, Oh Lily, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to target you. Please don't take it to heart. Huang Lili gritted her teeth and pretended to be magnanimous. It's okay. It was an unintentional mistake. However, she would remember this grudge. Anyway, she had plenty of time to deal with this B****. With that thought, Huang Lili suddenly chuckled. Sigh, as a woman I don't have to work too hard. I'll be successful if I marry a good man. At least, I won't have to worry for the rest of my life. As she spoke, she reached out her hand and fiddled with the diamond ring on her finger. A 3-carat diamond ring was exposed in front of everyone's eyes. Everyone was shocked and envious. Oh my God! What a big diamond! Lily, how big is your diamond? 31 carats. Huang Lili pretended to be indifferent. However, she couldn't wait to report the decimal point accurately. It's so big. Must be very expensive. It's only a few $100,000. Huang Lili's casual tone was a stark contrast to everyone's stunned eyes. A few $100,000. Oh my God, it's so expensive. I'll be satisfied if I have a 1-carat ring. That's why marrying a good man is a woman's biggest career. As Huang Lili spoke, she cast a contemptuous look at Yun Shishir. She did not know if she did it on purpose, but her tone was full of disdain. After all, diamonds and wedding gowns are a woman's ultimate dream. Everything else is insignificant. I'm lucky, unlike some people who spend their whole lives and still can't afford it. As soon as she said that, everyone felt awkward. She was obviously targeting Yun Shishir. Everyone looked at Yun Shishir, only to see her whispering to Mu Yaja. She completely ignored Huang Lili. Xiao Shui said, when our Shishir gets married, she'll have to wear a pigeon egg. Diamond? Huang, she's a diamond. To wear a diamond is to a few $100 million a diamond ring. That's right. Why not? Her boyfriend is just a company employee. I don't even know if his annual salary is more than $100,000. She must be dreaming. A girl who had always been at odds with Yun Shishir finally seized the opportunity to say something. Yun Shishir was even more amused. She glanced at Mu Yaja. Mu Yaja raised his eyebrows. Chapter 891. All right. It's a class reunion. Everyone should be fine. Someone came out to smooth things over. Only then did the commotion pass. More or less everyone was present. It was just that Huang Lili's boyfriend did not show up for a long time. Needless to say, this was intentional. Someone with some weight naturally had to make an appearance at the end, right? Hence, just as the banquet was about to start, Huang Lili's boyfriend finally arrived. The moment he entered, Huang Lili immediately went up to him, hooked her arm around his and introduced him to everyone. Let me introduce you all, this is my boyfriend Du Jian. We're about to register our marriage, so I'll invite everyone to my wedding banquet. She was deliberately showing off. Those who wanted to flatter her naturally went along with it. Everyone immediately hooted and flattered her, each one louder than the last. Only Meng Qinghe's expression was ugly. Yun Shishir sized him up. His looks were passable, but his height was only half a head taller than Huang Lili, which was considered a shortcoming. Huang Lili was 1.6 meters tall. Du Jiayin should only be 7 meters tall. So short. Xiao Shui whispered into Yun Shishir's ear. Yun Shishir patted her hand. Stop fooling around. Isn't it? Shishir looked at Huang Lili. She's clearly using this class reunion to show off how rich her boyfriend is and how much he dotes on her. How boring. Under everyone's flattery, Du Jiayin arrogantly entered the banquet hall. The moment he sat down, he opened a brand new pack of cigarettes and handed them out one by one. A classmate received it and was shocked. Red River. These are good cigarettes. You can't buy them even if you have the money. He said, these are Red River cigarettes. They're rarely seen in the market. When it was handed to Muyaja, he did not take it. Unlike those bowing boys earlier, he did not take it with a cold face. He did not even look at it. He was stunned. What's wrong? You're not used to smoking good cigarettes? When he opened his mouth, his teasing tone was filled with thorns. Muyaja raised his eyes and looked at him. His expression was indifferent and his eyes were as cold as ice. No. How can a man not smoke? It's fine. Shishir doesn't like me smoking, so I don't smoke. Muyaja's expression was still cold. Huang Lili laughed and said, he's afraid of his wife. Du Jiayin was especially disdainful as he frowned and said disapprovingly, men should at least be more strong-willed. What's the point of looking at a woman's face? What? Are you really afraid of your wife? Muyaja looked at Yun Shishir and smiled gently. I'm afraid of losing her. I'm afraid of losing her. Yun Shishir blushed at his words. She pursed her lips and snickered. Everyone was caught off guard. They were all dumbfounded after being stuffed with dog food. Xiao Shui praised, Aya. What a good man. That's right, the wife comes first. Tiske. What good man? Is a good man like this? Du Jiayin did not think much of it and laughed contemptuously. A good man must first have the ability to support his family. Only a good man can let his wife eat and wear well and not let her be bullied. Huang Lili rebuked, Jiayin, that's enough. Leave him some face. I haven't introduced him to you yet, right? This is Shishir's boyfriend, a company employee. Chapter 892. Xiao Shui tugged at the corner of Yun Shishir's shirt. Is your boyfriend really a company employee? She did not believe it. Muyaja looked noble and elegant. She would believe it if he were a rich young master. An ordinary employee? How could an ordinary employee have such an aura? Yes, Yun Shishir said matter-of-factly. The so-called employees were the management personnel of a company. Shishir was not wrong. The CEO was also a company employee. Huang Lili and Du Jiayin exchanged glances. Du Jiayin understood the meaning behind her gaze, so he stared at Muyaja and asked, Friend, which company are you working for? Dishing Financial Group, Muyaja replied succinctly. Dishing Financial Group. Someone at the table exclaimed, anyone who can enter Dishing Financial Group is an elite. I heard that Dishing's treatment is even better than that of a civil servant. That's right. Dishing cherishes talents very much. Those who can enter Dishing are all talents. Everyone's expression changed as they looked at Muyaja. Jianghu was also very envious. In Dishing's headquarters, even a small employee's annual salary started at 300,000 yuan. Although 300,000 yuan was not considered high in the capital, it was still considered good conditions. Du Jiayin felt a little embarrassed. Huang Lili immediately nudged him with her elbow, her eyes filled with anger. He immediately coughed and said, I know Dishing Financial Group CEO and have even met him a few times. When the time comes, I'll greet him and ask him to take care of you. The moment he said those words, he was undoubtedly putting on airs. Muyaja's eyes were a little blank. Why do I not remember meeting this person? Yun Shishir was also stunned. She then turned to ask him secretly, has he really met you before? No. Muyaja raised a brow. I don't know him. Yun Shishir's lips twitched. Du Jiayin's words were really interesting. The real Dishing CEO was sitting right in front of him. As soon as he said that, everyone in the banquet hall looked at him with admiration. Brother Jiayin, do you know the CEO of Dishing? Yes. We've met a few times and played golf together. Du Jiayin said. Dishing CEO is Muyaja, right? Yes. He nodded smugly. My relationship with him isn't bad. Muyaja frowned slightly, but he was not in a hurry to point it out. After all, this dinner party was too boring. They needed a clown to liven up the atmosphere. Du Jiayin could not help feeling displeased that Muyaja had not bowed to express his gratitude even though he had already said so much. He had already said that he wanted to greet the CEO of Dishing and take care of him. He should express his gratitude. But she didn't see any reaction from him. Huang Lili said unhappily, Yun Shishir, your boyfriend is too inconsiderate. He won't be able to make a name for himself in the future. Yun Shishir raised a brow and glanced at Mu Yaja, who was lazily propping his chin with one hand, and laughed. What do you mean by that? Your boyfriend is so arrogant. Ever since he entered the private room, he's been acting all high and mighty. He doesn't even bother to talk to him. He's too impolite. Huang Lili did not mince her words. The situation turned awkward for a moment. Chapter 893. Low profile? Huang Lili sneered. He's just a lowly employee. How high profile can he be if he doesn't keep a low profile? Sure, it's not that I want to say this, but other than his good looks, there's nothing else about your boyfriend. You deserve better. What was the use of being handsome? Huang Lili admitted that Mu Yaja was a handsome man, but could his handsomeness make a living? What was the use of having a bad family background? Du Jian could give her wealth and status. Just look at this class reunion. When they learned that her boyfriend's Du group had started, their vanity was greatly comforted as they admired those flattering faces. Could it be seen who went to flatter Yun Shishir? No matter how handsome her boyfriend was, he was just a lowly employee. In today's society, having power and influence was the only way to go. Huang Lili's words were clearly meant to undermine Mu Yaja. Mu Yaja raised his eyes, his cold gaze landing on her, and suddenly smiled playfully. Are you done with your performance? He spoke for the first time. His cold and magnetic voice was tinged with evil and arrogance. It was surprisingly pleasant to the ears. His voice was as charming as an orchid, and it was bone-numbing. Huang Lili was stunned as she stared at him in disbelief. This man actually dared to speak to her like this? She was about to taunt him. However, Mu Yaja, who was playing with the wine glass in his hand, lowered his gaze and slowly said, You just want to see me bow and flatter your boyfriend, don't you? His words exposed her. Huang Lili furrowed her brows in displeasure. After a pause, he looked up again and shot a cold gaze at Du Jian. His tone was frosty. If he wants me to flatter him, we'll have to see if he has the right to do so. Speaking up to here, it was time to stop. He hadn't said a word since he entered the room. That was because he treated these people as clowns who were performing an opera and enjoyed their performance. However, this Huang Lili dared to provoke him to this extent. He had to admit that she was too bold. Du group, was it? He had no impression of this small group at all. Since Du Jian claimed to know him, then he would meet the Du family when he had the chance. Du Jian's expression was extremely ugly. This man really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Slapping Huang Lili's face was undoubtedly the same as slapping his own face. Du Jian was about to speak when Meng Qinghe hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. I say, what's going on today? The moment he opened his mouth, the smell of gunpowder was so strong. This class reunion was initiated by me, and it's probably the last class reunion I'll attend. It's rare that everyone is here, so let's be more harmonious. Don't make the situation so awkward. My original intention of organizing the class reunion was just to have everyone gather together. There's no other meaning. Meng Qinghe's heartfelt speech received a response. That's right, don't be so aggressive. It's rare for Shishir to attend a class reunion. Don't scare her away like this. That's right, Lily. You should at least give the class leader some face. Since the class leader has spoken, we must cooperate. In fact, some people were already unhappy with Huang Lili's eagerness to show off. Everyone had just graduated a few years ago and was struggling at death's door in society. Of course, this did not exclude those like Xiao Shui who had a strong family background. Chapter 894. It was no wonder. Huang Lili came from a poor family. In the past, she had been ridiculed because of her poor background. Now that she was in power and had found a rich boyfriend, she couldn't wait to regain her dignity. She wanted to use this opportunity to hold her head high. Everyone had vanity, this was understandable. However, if this went on, the atmosphere of this rare class reunion would inevitably change. Du Jian muttered a few words before taking his seat too. The meal was considered to have begun. Delicacies were served one after another. 2 bottles of expensive red wine were presented on the table. One look and one could tell that they were expensive. Someone asked, Lily, this wine looks expensive. How much is a bottle? Huang Lili smiled when she heard this. She could not wait for someone to ask her that. This wine was a treasure from Yongya's private wine cellar. Someone had to show it off, right? Otherwise it would be boring. Before she could speak, Gao Nan recognized it at a glance. A96 Lafite. It's not expensive at 30,000 yuan, but the taste is top-notch. Is it expensive? Huang Lili secretly pursed her lips. This man has such a big mouth. Although she thought so, she still smiled and said, "This is a treasure from the wine cellar. Lafittes from 82, 86, 96 and 00 are all top-notch. Xiao Shui, your boyfriend really knows his stuff." Gao Nan smiled and modestly exchanged a few words. He had tasted Lafitte many times and could taste its vintage with just a sip. He continued, "Top-notch red wine must be aged in oak barrels and meticulously brewed by winemakers. There are requirements for the age of the grapes. Some wineries even select the grapes one by one." "Wow. You know so much," someone exclaimed. "It seems that Sister Lily has put in a lot of effort to entertain us. It's rare for everyone to get together, so of course, I have to put in more effort to entertain you." Du Jiayin generously greeted them. "Everyone, don't be reserved. Order whatever you want, I'll be the host tonight." "Order whatever I want?" Mu Yaja casually took the menu and flipped through a few pages. Seeing him flip through the menu, Du Jiayin snorted and said, "Order whatever you want. I'll be the host tonight. Everyone have fun and drink until you're drunk." "Good." Everyone cheered excitedly. Mu Yaja's eyes flashed with a deep smile. Since Du Jiayin said that he could do as he pleased, how could he not give him face? Mu Yaja immediately called the waiter over and asked, "What kind of foreign wine do you have?" "Ah!" Du Jiayin suddenly burst into tears from laughing. This was the first time he had seen someone ask such a question in a private club. Only a country bumpkin would ask such a question. Everyone looked at each other awkwardly, not understanding what he was laughing at. The waiter immediately said politely, "Hello, we have tequila, brandy, vodka. I remember that there is a winery in the Eternal Night Private Club." "Yes, sir." The waiter nodded with a smile. "The winery has a bottle of Damo 62, Mu Yaja said calmly. The moment he said that, Du Jiayin could no longer smile. How did he know that there was a winery in the Eternal Night Private Club? Indeed, the Eternal Night Private Club used to be a winery and was later turned into a private club. What shocked him even more was that this man actually knew about the Eternal Night Private Club's treasure. Chapter 895. Mu Yaja gracefully said, "Bring that bottle of Damo 62 over and put it on this gentleman's tab." Damo 62 was released in 2002, and there were only 12 bottles. One of them was in the private collection of Damo's founder, Richard Patterson. Damo 62 contained 4 types of super-aged whiskeys, the oldest of which dated back to 1868. Thus, it went without saying how expensive this wine was. Du Jiayin's legs went weak when he heard this, and his face turned pale from fright. Damo 62. A bottle of Damo 62 cost 3 million yuan. What kind of joke was this? While he was feeling weak, Huang Lily, who was at the side, did not know how expensive this wine was. She deliberately wanted to show off in front of everyone, so she casually said, "Give me a bottle." Du Jiayin stared at her in disbelief. His expression was frighteningly ugly. Huang Lily, who was still oblivious, inadvertently glanced at his pale face and was momentarily stunned. "What's wrong?" she asked with her lips. Du Jiayin was already drenched in cold sweat. Mu Yaja clasped his hands and gently propped up his chin as he sized up the man's face, which was drenched in cold sweat, with interest. A devilish smile appeared on his handsome face as he nonchalantly said, "Since you said anything, then I'll do as I please." Du Jiayin was caught between a rock and a hard place. Naturally, he could not ruin the scene for himself, so he could only feign bravery by saying, I already said that today is a rare occasion for me to be happy. Everyone, don't be restrained, you must have fun." Mu Yaja dragged out his last word meaningfully before ordering a few more dishes. He barely looked at the menu. Du Jiayin stared at his every move. He even suspected that the man had been here before for him to be able to recite the names of the dishes without looking at the menu. On second thought, it was impossible. He was just a small employee of Dishing Financial Group. How could he enter this place? If it were not for the fact that this was a class reunion, he could forget about entering this place. One had to know that private clubs were all membership-based. If one wasn't a member, they wouldn't even be able to take a single step in. Yun Shirshir secretly asked Mu Yaja, "Are the dishes you just ordered expensive?" "It's not expensive." Mu Yaja lovingly scratched her nose. "What's wrong? Are you worried about his money? How could this be? These dishes are very famous. They taste good. Every time he came he would order them." When the delicacies were served, Mu Yaja put some in her bowl. Yun Shirshir tasted it and her eyes widened in amazement. "It does taste good." Xiao Shui followed suit and took a bite. She immediately praised, "Aya. Shirshir, your boyfriend has good taste. The taste of these dishes is superb." When Huang Lili heard Xiao Shui's words, she was so angry that her nose was almost crooked. She was the one who paid for everything Mu Yaja ordered. Why did he get to enjoy the limelight in the end? Du Jian too remained silent at the side. His heart ached at the thought of the string of numbers on the bill after today's meal. On the other hand, he grumbled about why Huang Lili chose this place. She was a little dazed when she saw his ugly expression. He lowered his voice and whispered in her ear, "Do you know how much that bottle of Damo 62 costs?" "How much?" She felt uneasy. "Tens of thousands? Hundreds of thousands." He gritted his teeth. 3 million. Chapter 896. Du Jian could not help but glare at her angrily for making a fuss over nothing. Seeing her shocked expression, everyone could not help but ask with concern, "Lily, what's wrong?" "Nothing." She whispered into his ear, "Jian, are you teasing me?" "Who's teasing you?" "It's true. That bottle of Damo 62 was in the market a year ago. This man actually knows that Yongye has a precious bottle of Damo 62. It's not as simple as what your classmate said. How can an ordinary employee know about this?" Huang Lili was so shocked that she was speechless. Soon the waiter served the bottle of Damo 62. Mu Yaja was about to order someone to open the bottle when Du Jian suddenly stopped him. "Wait. What's wrong?" Mu Yaja glanced at him coldly. "Don't tell me that Master Du's heart is aching?" His bluntness made Du Jian even more embarrassed. He laughed dryly, his face stiff. How could it be?" He wanted to say something more and stop the bottle from being opened, but Mu Yaja did not give him the chance to do so. He directly ordered the waiter to open the bottle. "Open it." The waiter opened the bottle without another word. At that moment, Du Jian's heart was about to shatter. 3 million yuan? He did not even know if he could afford this bottle of wine with all his assets today. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They didn't know what was going on. They only felt that Du Jian's expression was a little strange. Huang Lili was so angry that she could not maintain the appropriate smile on her face. She was going crazy inside. This man clearly did it on purpose. Du Jian felt aggrieved, but the bottle had already been opened. What else could he say? She glanced at him and saw that the latter's face was ashen and purple. Mu Yaja pushed the bottle of wine in front of Yun Shirshir and said softly, "Try it. This wine should be very strong, right?" Yun Shirshir still had some lingering fear, afraid that she would get drunk with just a sip. Mu Yaja laughed. "What's there to be afraid of? With me around, it doesn't matter if you get drunk." Yun Shirshir licked her lips and thought, "Anyway, if I get drunk, Mu Yaja will be responsible for carrying me home. Moreover, it was a bottle of wine worth 3 million. It would be a waste not to drink it." Thus she took a bite. He even smacked his lips in a serious manner. There was nothing special about it. He could taste the taste of RMB. Mu Yaja asked, "How's the wine?" "It's no different from ordinary wine," Yun Shirshir said bluntly. Xiao Shui on the other hand laughed out loud. "Shirshir, you don't know how to drink. Everything tastes the same." Huang Lili was so angry that she was trembling. She couldn't control her emotions and said, "This bottle of wine is worth 3 million. Why is it no different from other wines?" 3 million. Everyone was stunned. A bottle of wine costs 3 million? Huang Lili snorted coldly, "Yeah. Yun Shirshir, your man is really rude. He's still inexperienced." Du Jian said casually, "But he ordered a bottle of wine worth 3 million. He's really a commoner." Her words were a little too much. Xiao Shui frowned and was about to speak. Mu Yaja slowly said, "Is 3 million very expensive?" "You're quite arrogant, aren't you? Don't tell me you can afford 3 million?" Huang Lili sneered mercilessly. Mu Yaja casually said, "I didn't know that the wine here is so expensive. Or is young Master Du unable to afford it?" Chapter 897. In other words, Du Jian was boasting first. He had only accidentally ordered a bottle of wine worth 3 million yuan. His words were concise and hit the nail on the head. Yun Shirshir was tickled by Mu Yaja's vicious words, and her shoulders shrugged as she tried to hold back her laughter. Du Jian could not put down his pride, but he insisted, "Can't afford it? Do you think I'm you? Since I've said so, how can there be a reason for me not to pay? Since young Master Du has said so, then please ask your girlfriend not to be petty," Mu Yaja said. Xiao Shui couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. Huang Lili could not maintain her composure and almost flared up. Du Jian suppressed his anger and pressed on her shoulders, indicating for her to calm down. Even though Huang Lili was unwilling, she had no choice but to suppress her anger. "Forget it. Anyway, 3 million yuan is just a small matter to my Jian. She was planning to puff herself up at her own cost and force herself to the end. The group of female classmates looked at her enviously. She had a rich boyfriend. Jianghu, on the other hand, was a little regretful. She should not have attended the class reunion. What class reunion? It was clearly Huang Lili trying to show off that she had kidnapped a good man. Everyone began to chat after a long separation. Huang Lili was all smiles, and Du Jian, who was beside her, chimed in from time to time. Naturally, he wanted to salvage the situation that he had almost lost earlier. The two sang the same tune and showed off their affection to the end. Gradually, the topic turned to the two of them. Questions such as, "How did you two meet? When are you getting married? Is he very good to you?" and so on. Yun Shirshir sat in her seat, drinking her wine as she listened in a daze. It was nothing more than Huang Lili's personal show to show off. It was said that she and Du Jian met at a bar. After graduating from university, she met the man at a bar by chance. The two fell in love at first sight and shared a river of love. After dating for half a year, they got engaged. Now, she was working in his father's company and was doing well. To Huang Lili, a woman did not need to have great achievements. A good appearance was enough to have everything. Everyone expressed their envy. Huang Lili shyly snuggled up to Du Jian with a coquettish look. In fact, that expression was nothing more than saying, "Are you jealous of me? Are you jealous of me? I found a good man, right?" Everyone was also very supportive and praised, "Oh, Lily is so lucky to have a handsome and rich boyfriend. The two of them are really a match made in heaven. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, what a perfect match." Huang Lili said shyly, "No, don't think too highly of me." Xiao Shui and Jiangli shivered at the same time, goosebumps rising all over their bodies. Yun Shirshir, on the other hand, had a calm expression on her face. She was minding her own business, tasting the snacks as if she had nothing to do with it. From the beginning to the end, she didn't say anything. She just silently listened to them talk, but she felt that this so-called class reunion was becoming more and more boring. From time to time, her gaze would fall on Gao Nan. Seeing Xiao Shui and Gao Nan chatting animatedly, she hesitated for a moment. Perhaps it was because Mu Yazhou was present today, but Gao Nan did not say anything too extreme to her. She yawned and Zhongli came over and said indignantly, "How boring. This woman is so pretentious. I want to leave." Chapter 898. Jiangli felt extremely inferior. She was also someone who cared a lot about her reputation. Looking at Huang Lili's smug look and thinking about her own man, she really expected better from her. The thing that women felt the most inferior about was when other women had limitless glory while they became a haggard old woman. The desserts were served. Everyone chatted and laughed as they talked about their graduation struggles. The female classmates were all envious of Huang Lili's success as a Cinderella, while the boys felt that it was a pity. Yun Shirshir, on the other hand, was indifferent to Huang Lili's fancy flaunting. Perhaps it was because she had drunk too much, but she slightly lifted her hair, and the bright sparkle on her earlobe attracted Xiao Shui's attention. "Wow. Shirshir, the earring on your ear is so beautiful." Xiao Shui's words attracted Huang Lili's attention, and she also looked at Yun Shirshir's ear. "It's just an ordinary earring." Huang Lili often shopped at luxury goods counters, but it did not mean that she knew what was good. She did not know what was good, but it did not mean that others did not. Xiao Shui took a closer look and exclaimed, "Tiffany stars in the sky. The counter sells it for 990,000 yuan for a pair. Shirshir, this earring really suits you. You look good wearing it." Everyone looked at her. Someone was speechless. 990,000 yuan? So expensive? How is that possible? Xiao Shui, however, said unhappily, "There's a Tiffany counter in my family's shopping mall. I often shop there. How can I be wrong?" Huang Lili was shocked again. She looked at Yun Shirshir in disbelief, feeling that she had been severely outdone. The diamond ring on her finger was 3 carats and was only 700,000 yuan. This was the most precious gift Du Jian had given her. 990,000 yuan for a pair of earrings was too extravagant. On second thought, Huang Lili sneered in disdain. "I think it's a fake. How can it be real?" Shirshir, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you're just attending a class reunion. Do you have to buy fake goods to make yourself look good? You can't swagger through the streets just because you're wearing fake goods worth 990,000 yuan. Xiao Shui, however, sneered. "Fake goods? How could this be an imitation? I think it's real because I really like this style and have always wanted to buy it." The Xiao family also had shares in department stores and many luxury counters under their name. Since she said it was true, then it was true. Huang Lili's expression changed, but Xiao Shui continued, "Do you think Shirshir is like you? When he was in school he bought fake goods to show off. Those LV and Gucci bags are as fake as they can be, but you treat them like treasures. Ah. The merciless words made Huang Lily's face flush red, as if she had eaten a fly. Xiao Shui, don't talk nonsense. I didn't buy fake goods. Those are all real. You may have forgotten, but I haven't. Don't think that you can pretend to be a socialite just because you're carrying a Louis Vuitton or Gucci bag. How embarrassing. Xiao Shui's words were like pearls. Huang Lily was so embarrassed that she couldn't bear to look at it anymore, but she still held on and said impatiently, since it's true, I don't believe that Yun Shishir can afford a pair of 990,000 yuan earrings. If it's not fake goods, then can it be real? Can she afford it? I think it's fake goods. Xiao Shui, you're Shishir's best friend and have a good relationship with her. Naturally, you'll speak up for her. The smell of gunpowder spread again. The group of people sat stiffly in their seats. Their postures and expressions looked stiff and uncomfortable. They were probably not used to such a scene. It was too awkward. Chapter 899. Huang Lily had always regarded Yun Shishir as a formidable rival. It had been like this since their university days. Huang Lily was polite to Yun Shishir on the surface, but no one knew how much she had mocked her behind her back. The gossip about Yun Shishir in the school was spread by Huang Lily after all. Everyone in the class had a tacit understanding of this matter, but they were too lazy to point it out. Yun Shishir pursed her lips slightly when she saw everyone's secretive gazes. Huang Lily, don't compare me to you. What do you mean? You like luxury goods because they can bring you face. How inferior must a person be to scrimp and buy luxury goods to keep up appearances? Her question stumped her. Yun Shishir might have drunk too much and blurted out in a moment of hot-headedness, a person's value can't be reflected by how many expensive necklaces and clothes they wear. Today is a class reunion and not your personal show of affection. Everyone knows that you love your boyfriend. Yes, that's right. To you, having a rich boyfriend can not only keep up appearances but also satisfy all your vanity. However, if he's no longer so glamorous and falls to the bottom of the valley, will you still accompany him? Huang Lily's face alternated between green and red as she could not defend herself. Everyone was well aware of her vanity. Tonight she tried her best to show off and everyone felt tired. Yun Shishir's words made Huang Lily feel very guilty. She subconsciously glanced at Du Jian, who was beside her, but when she saw the meaningful look in his eyes she stubbornly said, whether Jian is rich or poor, I'll accompany him for life. What a pompous speech. Wealth isn't inexhaustible after all. I think that a woman should have her own career. At the very least, it's respect for her dignity, isn't it? Xiao Shui almost slapped the table and exclaimed, amazing! Shishir, you're amazing. Her words were exactly what she was thinking. Yun Shishir smiled. Whether you like him or covet his wealth, you and he both know it clearly in your heart. However, regarding the love between the two of you, it's better to stop here, right? Today is a class reunion. Don't show off your vulgar view of love. Du Jian's heart was in turmoil after hearing this. How could he not know what Huang Lily wanted from him? However, now that he had exposed Huang Lily's lies, he had a different feeling towards her. Thinking back to what had happened today, Huang Lily had spent millions of yuan just to keep up appearances. If she truly loved him, would she be so extravagant? Could it be that face was not as important as him? Du Jian's face suddenly turned cold. Yun Shishir, to put it bluntly, you're just jealous of me. Huang Lily replied unwillingly. That's right, Yun Shishir. Are you saying that because you're jealous of Huang Lily? Another female classmate sneered. Someone's jealousy is acting up. Huang Lily is about to marry into a rich family. Someone is so envious that his heart is about to burst. The atmosphere was tense. Huang Lily glared at her and gritted her teeth. Jealous? What am I jealous of? What do you have to make me jealous? Yun Shishir retorted with interest. Was she jealous of her beauty? Or was she jealous of her so-called rich second-generation heir boyfriend? She just felt that Huang Lily was quite pitiful. Chapter 900. Xiao Shui snorted and mimicked Huang Lily's coquettish tone. How can your Jian compare to Shishir's boyfriend? Her boyfriend is practically a prince charming. He's tall and handsome. Huang Lily was disdainful and contemptuous. What's the use of being handsome? How can he compare to our Jian? Our Jian is the only heir of the Du group with a net worth of tens of millions. Her boyfriend is just a small employee, what's there to be proud of? She didn't think through her words before she spoke. Du Jian frowned at her words. If not for Yun Shishir's words earlier, Huang Lily's words would not have made much of a difference. However, Yun Shishir had just said that Huang Lily was with him because of his family background. When Huang Lily said these words, it was inevitable that he would feel complicated. Could it be that, like what Yun Shirshir said, she was only interested in his family background? Yun Shirshir smiled and gently hooked her arm around Mu Yaja's shoulder. How is being handsome useless? We have to consider the next generation. Thinking of Yu Yu and Xiao Yichen, Yun Shirshir's heart was filled with bliss. Xiao Shui snorted. Yun Shirshir's words were too vicious. In other words, she was mocking Du Jieyin's genes for not being as good as Mu Yaja's. Mu Yaja could not help pinching her cheeks with doting eyes. Du Jieyin was a little embarrassed. Huang Lili was also embarrassed, but she could not refute it. Indeed, Du Jieyin could not be considered ugly, but when he stood next to Mu Yaja, he was practically at the bottom of the valley. There was no comparison at all. Huang Lili could only comfort herself. What's the use of being handsome? It's fine as long as he's rich. Yun Shirshir held her forehead and suddenly felt a little lightheaded. I'm going to the washroom. With that, she stood up and left the private room. The moment she left, Huang Lili slammed her chopsticks on the table in displeasure. Clearly, she was unhappy as she crossed her arms and sulked. Lily, don't be angry. Don't stoop to her level. She's just jealous of you. That's right. She must be jealous that you have a boyfriend who treats you so well. Don't be angry. Du Jieyin's face was also extremely ugly, but he was not as flustered as he usually was to comfort her. After waiting for a long time, she did not receive any consolation. Huang Lili stared at him incredulously. Was displeased with his silence, she frowned and said unhappily, Jiyin. Ichem. Du Jiyin did not even raise his head, seemingly angry. Why aren't you saying anything? You don't really believe her, do you? Huang Lili snorted. Yun Shirshir still has the cheek to say that? Isn't she herself is? Lily, stop fooling around. Meng Qinghe hurried to mediate the situation. Just as he said that, Xiao Shui asked unhappily, what's wrong with Shirshir? Isn't everyone here well aware of what she's doing? Huang Lili was also angry. She keeps trying to sow discord between me and Jiyin, saying that I'm greedy for his wealth. What about her? She thinks too highly of herself. Everyone in school knows about her past. Lily. Meng Qinghe could not stand it anymore and reminded her not to make the situation too ugly. Alas, she was arrogant because she was pampered. Ever since she hooked up with Du Jiyin, no one had ever treated her this way. Thus, she did not hold back and laid all her cards on the table. She glared at Mu Yaja. The latter looked up coldly and raised a brow. Chapter 901. Do you know what happened to your girlfriend when she was studying? It's all over the school. You're not still in the dark, are you? Mu Yaja pursed his thin lips slightly as a dangerous glint flashed in his eyes. When she was still in school, she was already famous for being a beauty at a young age. I heard that she was kept as a mistress by several tycoons. She even dropped out of school when she was 18. I heard that she was pregnant and was nursing the fetus at home. A few of my friends bumped into her at the hospital. She had a big belly and was doing a fetal checkup. I heard that she was a third party. Everyone in school knows about this. Mu Yaja remained silent, but a cold glint flashed across his eyes. He raised his eyes, his gaze deep. 18 years old? When Yun Shirshir was 18, his body jerked. It was that year that Yun Shirshir became a surrogate for the Mu family. It turned out that this matter had spread to the school. People even speculated that she was kept as a mistress by a tycoon. Mu Yaja's eyes darkened. Xiao Shui was slightly stunned, not expecting her to be so wicked. She only heard the other woman laugh contemptuously. What? Don't you know about this? Do you think your girlfriend is so pure and innocent? She pretends to be ignorant of the world on the surface, but who knows how despicable she is? Du Jiyin furrowed his brows. Tycoon? She's kept by a tycoon? That can't be right? Jiyin, I've never mentioned this to you before. I just wanted to save some face for someone. She continued. She once went back to school to apply for a leave of absence. She alighted from a Bentley. I saw it with my own eyes. I've come into contact with all the tycoons in the capital. Maybe I know them. Who knows? She pouted. Xiao Shui said, Huang Lili, don't speak nonsense. Everyone in class knows about this. What right do you have to say that I'm talking nonsense? I saw it with my own eyes. How can it be fake? Everyone's expression became weirder as they lowered their heads and whispered among themselves. They leaned closer to Huang Lili and asked in a low voice, Hey Lily, is what you're saying true? I thought it was all made up. What fabrication? I saw it with my own eyes. It's not baseless. Huang Lili, don't go overboard. Others may not know, but don't think that I don't know. Shirshir was never kept as a mistress, nor did she have an illegitimate child. Aren't these rumors and slanders all made up by you? Don't spread rumors. Shirshir dropped out of school because something happened at home. Xiao Shui insisted. She's always been full of nonsense. You're the only one who believes her and even speaks up for her. You believe the nonsense of someone like her? That kind of person? Xiao Shui suddenly raised her voice and slammed the table. What kind of person is Shirshir? Actually, I don't quite like Yin Shirshir. She's always alone and doesn't like to talk. She's also very isolated. She makes herself seem very melancholic and deep. She really doesn't have any personality at all. I think she's a woman who's cold on the outside but passionate on the inside. This kind of woman is the scariest. Another female classmate said, I don't like her either. She's very boring and doesn't like to talk. She sits alone in the classroom all day. This kind of woman has the most bad intentions. One look and you can tell that she's very shrewd. I don't dare to interact with her normally. Chapter 902. Xiao Shui said angrily, How can you say that? Yun Shirshir is the best girl I've ever met. She's just a little stubborn and keeps to herself. But so what? At least she's sincere. Bad intentions? At least Yun Shirshir never talks bad about others behind their backs. With that, she glared at Huang Lili. Unlike some people who only know how to spread rumors and cause trouble. Disgusting. Huang Lili sneered in disdain. Someone whistled, "Oh, how touching." Huang Lili didn't say anything bad about Yin Shirshir. She only said what she saw with her own eyes. Xiao Shui, did you eat explosives today? We're not talking about you. A hint of mockery flashed across Du Jiayin's eyes before he tried to smooth things over. All right. It's rare for us to have a class reunion. Let's not spoil the harmony. Let's talk about something else. Huang Lili said to Mu Yaja, I think you're quite pitiful. You look like a talented person, so don't be deceived by what you see. Yun Shirshir isn't a good person and isn't clean. Some time ago I saw Jiang Li's WeChat Moments video. Her son is already 6 years old. Of all people to be his girlfriend, why did he choose a pair of broken shoes? Mu Yaja's face was sullen, his eyes sharp. However, before he could say anything, crash. Xiao Shui stood up with a wine glass in her hand and splashed the expensive wine all over her face. Huang Lili was stunned in her seat. The wine poured down from the top of her head and into her eyes. She was in a sorry state. She was flabbergasted, clearly unable to believe that Xiao Shui dared to splash wine on her. Her chest heaved up and down as she fumed. How dare you splash wine on me? Broken shoes? I think you're the broken shoes. You said that Shirshir is a broken shoes, but why don't you take a look at yourself? When you were in school, you didn't go home at night and often went to nightclubs. Do you want me to count how many men you've been taken advantage of by? Huang Lili, I don't even care to talk about this. It's disgusting to say it out loud. Xiao Shui said excitedly, her face flushed red. The situation was completely out of control. The group of people were dumbstruck. They had never expected that the situation would turn out like this. Du Jiayin also stood up and grabbed her wrist. What are you doing? Was he crazy? Are you a shrew? Let go. Didn't she see who looked like a shrew? Huang Lili, you're a mad dog biting people everywhere. Shut up. Du Jiayin glared at her threateningly. Now that Xiao Shui was splashing dirty water on Huang Lili, she was undoubtedly splashing dirty water on him. How could he tolerate this? How dare you? Gao Nan stood up angrily and pushed Du Jiayin away, shielding Xiao Shui by his side. Don't touch her with your dirty hands. What right do you have to push me? What right do you have to talk to me? Du Jiayin was, after all, young and hot-blooded. Seeing that this man did not know his place and even dared to push him, he was instantly infuriated. Do you think you're the crown prince just because I gave you some face? Gao Nan looked at him with disdain. Previously, he did not want to make things too ugly since it was Xiao Shui's class reunion tonight. However, since Du Jiayin had shed all pretense of cordiality, he would not give in to him. Gao Nan immediately turned around and held her hand. He carefully checked it and saw that the spot where Du Jiayin had held it was already red. His heart ached for her. Chapter 903. Gao Nan turned around and threw a punch at Du Jiayin. Caught off guard, Du Jiayin took the hit and fell on the table, spilling all the soup on it. Unfortunately, the white shirt he was wearing today was stained and dirty. What are you doing? How dare you hit Jiayin? Huang Lili stood up angrily and pushed away a female classmate, who had kindly handed her a handkerchief, like a shrew. Xiao Shui, your boyfriend is really good. He even dared to hit him, didn't he? Yun Shirshir is really a troublemaker. Xiao Shui, are you going against me for her? What has it got to do with Shirshir? Don't you dare slander her. Du Jian was helped up by someone. His mouth moved a little before he spat out a mouthful of blood. Gao Nan's punch had actually knocked out one of his teeth. He was furious for a moment. He looked at his dirty clothes and was instantly enraged. He raised his head angrily with a sinister expression. Xiao Shui, neither you nor your boyfriend can leave today. Why? Are you threatening me? Gao Nan's face was ashen. Fine. I'd like to see what capabilities you have and what you can do to me. Xiao Shui was touched by his protection. She wrapped her arms around his waist and glared at Huang Lili at the same time. Huang Lili, you really know how to bully people with your power. I didn't expect you to not change your nature even after graduation. I haven't settled the score with you from our university days. Gao Nan could not help feeling suspicious when he heard her say that. You two had a feud in university? Yes. She snorted. She bought a high-quality imitation Louis Vuitton bag in school. I could tell, so I said that her bag was a fake and we quarreled. In the end, Gao Nan, guess what? She actually called a bunch of hooligans from outside the school to surround me at the school gate. If not for Shisha protecting me and secretly calling the police, I might have been dragged away by those hooligans. Then Xiao Shui's anger was ignited and she said indignantly, Humph. Later on, I heard that the leader of those hooligans was a hooligan from East Street. I heard that he was her boyfriend. Nonsense. Huang Lili pointed at her angrily. Xiao Shui, I'm warning you, you're not allowed to slander me. Why would I slander you? What good does it do to slander you? You keep saying that Shisha is a broken shoe. Why don't you take a look at yourself? How many boyfriends did you have when you were in school? How many times did you have an abortion? Do you want me to list out your bad friends one by one? I think your boyfriend is the pitiful one. I don't know how many times he has been cuckolded by you. Shisha has always kept herself clean and never hooked up with those guys. How can you compare to her? You. Huang Lili was agitated by her words. She subconsciously glanced at Du Jian behind her, only to see him frowning. This made her even more flustered. Jian, you didn't listen to her sowing discord, did you? Du Jian's face was gloomy but he did not say a word. Xiao Shui, however, sneered. Why would I want to sow discord between you two? Both of you are a scourge. You two are simply getting rid of a scourge for the people by loving each other. You two are so compatible. Xiao Shui's words were extremely hurtful. She could not be blamed for losing her cool though. Everything she said was the truth. There was no exaggeration or embellishment at all. Chapter 904. In the past she had never missed a class reunion. She could get along well with Huang Lili. However, today Yun Shisha was attending, yet Huang Lili went against her at every turn and even dug up old scores. Digging up old scores? Xiao Shui was not afraid though. Huang Lili had so many old scores that she did not mind digging through them one by one. After she finished speaking, a male classmate asked in disbelief, Xiao Shui, is what you said true? It's true. Why would I lie? You guys are the ones who have been deceived by Huang Lili's appearance. She paused for a moment before sneering and saying coldly, Huang Lili, there's a saying that's especially suitable for you. It's called, a white lotus loves a gentleman, but a green tea is a real B***tea. You. Huang Lili was thoroughly enraged and pounced on her friend with bared fangs and brandished claws. Gao Nan, on the other hand, swiftly pulled Xiao Shui behind him. Huang Lili pounced on him, her nails leaving a deep bloody mark on his arm. Get lost. Gao Nan pushed her away with a look of disdain. She lost her balance and fell to the ground in a sorry state. Don't touch me, it's dirty. Gao Nan picked up the wet towel on the table and wiped the area she had touched earlier. His action was undoubtedly the biggest humiliation to her and infuriated Du Jian for a moment. What do you mean? Her hands are dirty, Gao Nan repeated coldly. His brashness infuriated Du Jian even more. The latter abruptly stretched out his leg intending to kick him. Xiao Shui exclaimed, not expecting Du Jian to make a move on her. Gao Nan, on the other hand, nimbly dodged the attack with Xiao Shui in his arms. He pushed her aside and started fighting with Du Jian. Huang Lili was dumbfounded by the sight. Meng Qinghe hurriedly came forward to mediate the fight, but it was not a wise choice to do so at this time. He took a punch from Du Jian and a kick from Gao Nan, yet he still could not pull the two apart. Xiao Shui was on tenterhooks by this scene, afraid that Gao Nan would be at a disadvantage. Still, was Gao Nan someone to be trifled with? He was also half a martial artist. When he was young he had learned judo and had some martial arts skills. Compared to him, Du Jian did not fare well. He took a few punches to the face and looked terrible. After a round of fighting, he was actually at a disadvantage and was clearly at a disadvantage. Stop fighting. Don't hit me, don't hit me, ah. The scene immediately became chaotic. In the bathroom, Yun Shirshir supported herself on the glass counter. She felt her stomach churn violently, and her stomach churned endlessly. She felt nauseous and wretched. However, after trying for a long time, he didn't spit out anything. He only spat out some acid. He took some water and splashed it on his face. He didn't know if it was because of the alcohol or some other reason, but he wanted to vomit, but he couldn't. It was extremely uncomfortable. Huang Lily's ferocious and aggressive face suddenly appeared in his mind. She suddenly regretted it. This class reunion was undoubtedly a Hongmen banquet. Witnessing those ugly, hypocritical and fawning faces was extremely tiring. She took out a wet towel and gently wiped the water stains on her face. Then she felt another bout of retching. She supported herself on the glass counter and retched. Her heart skipped a beat. She remembered that she didn't drink much today. Why? Yun Shirshir clutched her chest, her thoughts in a mess. Her period seemed to have been delayed for a long time, and there were no signs of it. Could it be? Chapter 905. She looked at her reflection in the mirror and frowned slightly. For a moment, there was a complicated look in her eyes. Her menstrual cycle had always been stable. At most, there would be a difference of 2 to 3 days. Why now? Could it be? Everyone stood helplessly at the side and looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Meng Qinghe glanced in Mu Yaja's direction, only to see him sitting elegantly and calmly in his seat. He slowly held the wine glass in his hand and slowly took a sip of the imported wine. His eyes, however, did not look at the conflict on the stage at all. Instead, they were lowered in silence. It was as if he was completely uninvolved in the farce before him. He was secretly surprised. This man at this juncture still had the leisure to taste wine alone? However, he did not think so. Even though he was a man, he could feel that the man had a unique aura about him. Like a noble superior, he exuded an air of disdain for the rest of the world. He was different from ordinary men. Meng Qinghe was secretly surprised. He was suddenly certain that this man was not as simple as what Yun Shirshir had said. A company employee? How could a company employee have such a monarch's aura? This kind of temperament should belong to a big shot who had been in the field of fame and fortune for a long time. Only a big shot who had played with so many bloody storms would have such an extraordinary aura. At this moment the scene was a mess. The table was half overturned and the expensive dishes were all spilled on the expensive carpet under their feet. It was an unsightly sight. Seeing that Du Jiyan was at a disadvantage, Huang Lily could no longer watch on helplessly. She rushed forward and hugged Gao Nan's waist tightly. Her strength was not weak and the man could not move for a moment. Huang Lily bit his arm, making him feel nauseous. Du Jiyan found the right opportunity to throw a punch at Gao Nan's face. Gao Nan was caught off guard by this swift and fierce punch and took a step back. Du Jiyan took advantage of this opportunity to land a series of punches on him, causing him to fall to the ground. Xiao Shui, who was watching from the side, was frightened. Seeing Huang Lily use such a despicable method, she wanted to rush forward. However, she was stopped by Meng Qinghe. Meng Qinghe, why are you stopping me? Xiao Shui's eyes were red with anger. Xiao Shui, why are you losing your cool too? Don't blow things up. Meng Qinghe was so anxious that he broke out in cold sweat. How did a classmates' gathering turn into such a mess? Moreover, it was in such a place. There were many antique vases in this private room. If they accidentally broke them, there would be complications. Chapter 906. Xiao Shui pointed at Huang Lily and cursed her like a madwoman. She had completely lost her rationality. Huang Lily's face turned ugly, but she could only glare at her with gritted teeth. Do you think you're so great just because you have a rich boyfriend? Haven't you heard about the Xiao family? Huang Lily, let me tell you, don't think you're so great just because you're related to the Du family. If you bully Shirshir, you're going against me. Going against me is the same as going against the Xiao family. The Xiao family? Du Jiyan's expression changed slightly as he looked at Xiao Shui in disbelief. Is your father Xiao Zheng? Yes. Xiao Shui held her head high. Since Huang Lily kept using Du Jiyan to suppress Shirshir, she did not mind competing with her in terms of family background. Huang Lily mocked, Xiao Shui, do you think you're being righteous? Look at Shirshir's boyfriend. Even her boyfriend isn't as agitated as you are. Everyone immediately looked at Mu Yaja. However, he saw him sitting calmly in his seat, fiddling with the goblet in his hand, but he was cold and didn't say a word. Xiao Shui was also a little angry. She walked up to Mu Yaja and pointed at Huang Lily. Aren't you angry? She insulted Shirshir like this. Are you really indifferent? Mu Yaja slowly downed the wine in his glass and casually said, After all, it's impossible for a man to communicate with a mad dog. Everyone was stunned. Xiao Shui's face was also colorful. Her originally aggressive face suddenly did not know whether to be angry or to laugh. Huang Lili and Du Jian's faces in particular were even more colorful and instantly turned gloomy. What did he say? He actually mocked them as mad dogs? Du Jian was a little angry. He walked up to Mu Yaja with his head held high and looked down at him condescendingly. He asked with a smile that was not a smile, "Do you know who I am? Chem? Do you know the Du family in the capital?" What? Du Jian bellowed, his aura imposing. She had suffered a loss in front of Xiao Shui just now, and now she had to get back at this man. He couldn't afford to offend the Xiao family. However, he was just a lowly employee who could be easily bullied. No impression, Mu Yaja said. As far as he could remember, he had never heard of the Du family in the capital. They had never heard of a wealthy family like the Du family in the capital. He was about to flare up when a waiter respectfully knocked on the door. The commotion in the private room eventually alerted Wang Chuanda. He happened to pass by and heard the argument coming from inside, so he ordered the waiter to open the door to see what was going on. Speaking of Wang Chuanda, he was the owner of this private club, and this Evernight private club was only a branch of one of his businesses. Wang Chuanda's most eye-catching identity was still the CEO of Wank Real Estate. He was famous. Wank Real Estate was one of the top 5 real estate giants in the country. Wang Chuanda was already a giant in the real estate industry with a net worth of tens of billions. In the capital, there were many high-class private clubs like this one. Evernight Private Club's predecessor was a private winery opened by Wang Chuanda to entertain business partners. Business naturally could not be done without wine. There was an unwritten rule among the Chinese that there was no banquet without wine. Later, Wang Chuanda spent a lot of money to turn the winery into a private club. Chapter 907. In fact, the economic benefits brought by this private club had always been in a state of loss. The land price was high and the decorations were luxurious. Every decorative vase in the clubhouse was an antique that Wang Chuanda had spent a lot of money on. However, having a private clubhouse made it convenient for him to do business. He mainly relied on the clubhouse to maintain his connections. When Wang Chuanda walked in and saw the mess, he could not help but frown. He stood there with a dignified aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. When Du Jian saw him, his face immediately turned respectful. "So, it's Mr. Wang." His face was no longer as haughty as when he was facing Mu Yaja earlier. Standing before Wang Chuanda, he was bowing and scraping just like a slave dog. He quickly wiped his dirty hands on his trousers and respectfully extended them to Wang Chuanda. Wang Chuanda glanced at his outstretched hand from the corner of his eye, and then looked him up and down. Seeing that his body was stained with all kinds of soups and sauces, he couldn't help but frown, but he didn't even bother to shake his hand. "Mr. Wang, do you still remember me?" Du Jian's tone was humble and careful. "You are. My father is Du Boxiong and I'm his son Du Jian." Du Boxiong? Wang Chuanda pondered for a moment and raised a brow. He seemed to have some impression of the name, but it was not that deep. He traveled around the Vanity Fair every day and had seen many big shots. Naturally, he did not take a small figure like Du Boxiong to heart. This name was somewhat familiar, but the Du family was at most a nouveau riche and not a rich family. Thus, it was understandable that Wang Chuanda did not take it to heart. Seeing his silence, Du Jian inevitably felt awkward. He put his face forward, but Wang Chuanda did not even look him in the eye. It was quite embarrassing. When Huang Lili saw this person, she muttered in her heart. This middle-aged man had a strong aura and seemed to be either rich or respectable. Even the arrogant Du Jian bowed to him. She thought to herself, this man must be a big shot in some industry. Thus, she hurriedly tidied up her messy hair and rushed over. She walked up to Wang Chuanda, smiled, and winked at him in what she thought was a flirtatious manner. She followed behind Du Jian and greeted, "Hello, Director Wang. I'm his girlfriend, Huang Lili." Although he was smiling respectfully on the surface, he was criticizing inwardly. This man seems to be much more powerful than Du Jian. If not, why would Du Jian fawn over her and wish he could get close to her? He must be a noble figure. Wang Chuanda didn't even look at her. He had seen a lot of women like Huang Lili, who would seize the opportunity to climb up the social ladder. He had seen a lot of women like her. With just one look, one could tell what kind of person he was. How could such a woman be qualified to befriend her? Therefore he did not take her seriously at all. Naturally, he ignored Huang Lili's fawning. It was as if she did not exist. For a moment, Huang Lili could not hide the embarrassment on her face. Being treated coldly by Wang Chuanda in front of so many people, it was naturally difficult for him to get out of this embarrassing situation. This CEO Wang seemed to have a much higher status than she had imagined. She was so cold and indifferent toward Du Jiayin. Du Jiayin still greeted him warmly, so he must be a big shot that he could not afford to offend. Thus, the smile on her face became even more flattering. Chapter 908. What's going on? Wang Chuanda walked into the private room and saw a group of people standing awkwardly. A man with a cold and stern back was sitting on the chair with a gloomy face. He was playing with the wine glass in his hand and did not ask who had come in. He was instantly displeased. Gao Nan was helped up by Xiao Shui. When he raised his head and saw Wang Chuanda, the smile on his face changed. "Oh, uncle." Gao Nan was stunned. "Uncle." Everyone present was stunned by Gao Nan's greeting. Du Jiayin in particular widened his eyes in shock and then said with displeasure, "Heh, you've got the wrong person. Let me tell you, this is CEO Wang of Wank Real Estate. Don't blindly claim to be his relative." Gao Nan looked at him coldly and could not be bothered with him as he walked up to Wang Chuanda. Du Jiayin was about to stop him when he saw Wang Chuanda's expression change and then turn serious. "Gao Nan, why are you here?" His words shocked Du Jiayin so much that his legs turned to jelly. His whole body froze on the spot, and his dumbfounded expression looked extremely comical. "What? Why did Xiao Shui's boyfriend call CEO Wang uncle? The problem is Wang Chuanda really his uncle? Wait a minute, Xiao Shui's boyfriend is called Gao Nan." Huang Lily, who was at the side, was also frightened by this scene. From the moment Gao Nan entered the room, all her attention was on Yun Shirshir. Hence, she did not ask about Xiao Shui's boyfriend's identity or background. Gao Nan and CEO Wang are relatives. She was on tenterhooks. Thinking that she had offended Gao Nan earlier, and that he seemed to have a powerful background, she wondered if he would settle scores with her later. The more she thought about it, the more uneasy she became. She looked anxiously at Du Jiayin only to see his pale face. "It's my girlfriend's class reunion, I'm here with her." Gao Nan told the truth. Wang Chuanda's face was expressionless, but compared to when he faced Du Jiayin, his expression was slightly more relaxed. Speaking of the relationship between Wang Chuanda and Gao Nan, the latter addressed him as uncle, because he was his grandfather's nephew. Gao Nan's mother addressed him as cousin. Wang Chuanda was in politics in his early years. After retiring, he went into business. Relying on his connections, Wank Real Estate, which had been established for 10 years, rose to become the third-ranked real estate giant. He had always expected his nephew's expectations. He wanted to send him to the military while he was still young. However, Gao Nan's mother, who doted on him too much, refused to listen to his suggestion. After all, he only had one son. How could he bear to send him to the army for training? That would mean a lot of suffering. Wang Chuanda also dropped the matter. Wang Chuanda had always been strict with Gao Nan, so even in front of everyone he maintained a stern expression and did not smile at him. "What's going on?" Wang Chuanda looked at the messy scene in the box and questioned sternly. Gao Nan glanced at Du Jiayin and Huang Lily. He did not want to blow this matter up. Besides, it would be too embarrassing if word got out. So he said, "Well, it was a misunderstanding." Chapter 909. "Oh, I see." Wang Chuanda muttered to himself. Seeing the mess in the private room, if it were him, no matter who it was, he would naturally chase them out if they caused trouble in the clubhouse. However, for Gao Nan's sake, there was no need to be calculative. "Gao Nan, you're not young anymore. Don't always think of fooling around outside," he reprimanded. Gao Nan naturally pretended to be frightened by his elder's reprimand and nodded repeatedly. Wang Chuanda turned around and was about to leave under the escort of a group of people. Du Jiayin shot a glance at Mu Yaja, who had been sitting in his seat all this while, and for some reason he suddenly stepped forward and blocked Wang Chuanda's path. Startled, Wang Chuanda glanced at him from the corner of his eye and asked coldly, "What's wrong?" "Mr. Wang, it's like this. Today is my girlfriend's class reunion. It should have been a happy gathering, but some random people sneaked in and made the scene so awkward. I think I'm doing this for your sake. A high-class place like Eternal Night Clubhouse shouldn't allow some commoners to sneak in. If they touch the expensive antiques here, won't it make things difficult for me? President Wang, please send someone to chase this person out." With that, he pointed at the man sitting in his seat and said, "It's this person. I don't know his identity, but he's the cause of today's situation." This time he pushed the blame to Mu Yaja and removed all responsibility from himself. Firstly, he wanted to save some face in front of Wang Chuanda, lest the latter think that he was the one who caused the state of the room. Secondly, Du Jian found Mu Yaja to be an eyesore and wanted to vent his anger in front of everyone by kicking him out. Wang Chuanda glanced at the man sitting in his seat and saw that he had not said a word from start to finish. His back was cold and solemn, making him look unfathomable. He turned around, looked at him and asked, "Who are you?" Mu Yaja did not reply. Wang Chuanda frowned. He had been in the business for so long, but he had never met anyone who was so rude to him. He actually ignored him. He was furious. Therefore, with a look, the bodyguard beside him immediately understood and walked towards Mu Yaja. Du Jian gloated at their misfortune from the side, waiting to see Mu Yaja and Yun Shishir being chased out of the house. He was secretly delighted. Huang Lili was also very excited. He hoped to use Wang Chuanda to vent his anger. However, just as the bodyguard walked to his side, Mu Yaja suddenly turned around slowly. A handsome face was exposed to Wang Chuanda's line of sight. Wang Chuanda met Mu Yaja's deep gaze and was stunned for a second. Then he was shocked and immediately shouted, "Wait!" His sudden voice startled Du Jian. He hurriedly approached and asked respectfully, "Xiao Wang, what's going on?" Wang Chuanda did not wait for him to finish his words as he pushed him aside and strode toward Mu Yaja. Mu Yaja did not get up and continued sitting in his seat calmly. Wang Chuanda walked up to him. When he saw that it was really him, a flattering smile appeared on his face. "Master Mu, you've graced us with your presence." Mu Yaja raised his hand to stop him. "I'm here to accompany my woman, there's no need to make a fuss." Chapter 9-10. Everyone was even more stunned by this inexplicable scene and looked at each other in dismay. Du Jian, Huang Lili and even Gao Nan, who was standing at the side, were stunned. Why did Uncle show such a courteous expression when he saw this man? Who exactly is this man? Gao Nan looked around cautiously and did not see anyone else. Suspecting that Wang Chuanda had mistaken him for someone else, he hurriedly walked forward and asked, "Uncle, this lad is—" "Don't be rude." Wang Chuanda immediately stopped him. Gao Nan was a sensible person and knew how to read people's expressions. Since this man could make his uncle bend down, his background must not be simple. Hence, he knew his place and did not speak again. "Mr. Wang, long time no see." Yes. I didn't expect to see Master Mu here. What a coincidence." Wang Chuanda nodded repeatedly. His earlier condescending demeanor was gone as the smile on his face was as respectful as it could be. "I didn't know that you were Master Mu. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you." "Don't be so formal," Mu Yaja said concisely. "I seem to have heard someone say that they want to chase me out." "Who dares?" Wang Chuanda straightened his back and looked around. He coldly shouted with a sharp gaze, "Since Master Mu is here, you are my distinguished guest. Who is the blind one who wants to embarrass Master Mu? Who dares to shamelessly say that they want to chase Master Mu out? That's the same as embarrassing me." Du Jian was pierced by Wang Chuanda's sharp gaze and did not dare to raise his head again. He hurriedly lowered his head and rubbed his fists with a fawning smile, clearly feeling guilty. Huang Lili looked at Wang Chuanda and then at Du Jian, who did not dare to speak. She looked indignant and wanted to say something, but she was pulled aside by him and softly reprimanded. "Don't cause trouble." She bit her lip and lowered her head as well. Yun Shishir returned from the washroom. Just as she entered the room, she felt an unusually solemn atmosphere. 3 to 5 men in black suits stood at the door with solemn expressions. She was startled by it. However, the moment they entered, they saw a group of waiters cleaning up the mess while a group of people sat in the living room. Huang Lili and Du Jian sat on the sofa, looking restless. Xiao Shui and Gao Nan, on the other hand, sat at the side. Yun Shishir looked around but did not see Mu Yaja's figure. Seeing her return, everyone looked at her with complicated gazes. However, in their eyes, Yun Shishir saw an inexplicable reverence. "What's going on?" As soon as Xiao Shui saw her, she immediately greeted her. "Shishir, why were you gone for so long? Where did you go?" "I'm in the bathroom. I don't feel well." Yun Shishir paused for a moment before explaining, "You know, I'm not a good drinker. It's getting to my head." "Yes. What's going on? Why is the table overturned? What happened?" "Shishir, it's a good thing you weren't here just now. Huang Lili took advantage of your absence to badmouth you in front of your man." Huang Lili's face was filled with panic as she sat on pins and needles. "Xiao Shui, don't talk nonsense." She was still arrogant toward Xiao Shui earlier, but once she learned about the relationship between Xiao Shui's boyfriend, Gao Nan, and that big shot, she became even more polite to Xiao Shui. Chapter 9-11. Xiao Shui stopped abruptly. She realized that her words would only hurt Shirshir even more, so she quickly stopped herself. Shirshir, anyway, she said a lot of bad things about you. So, you two fought? Yun Shirshir narrowed her eyes. Thinking about it carefully, Xiao Shui had always been impulsive and righteous. If Huang Lili were to badmouth her in front of her, the latter would naturally not buy it and would definitely go head-to-head with the latter. Yun Shirshir then looked at the mess on Du Jiyan and Gao Nan and was confused. Xiao Shui briefly recounted what had happened earlier. Yun Shirshir was speechless. Xiao Shui, you're too impulsive. A mad dog bites people. Can you stoop to the level of a mad dog? Xiao Shui was stunned for a moment before she was amused by her words and laughed heartily. What's the matter? Yun Shirshir looked at her, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Xiao Shui retorted, your man said the same thing to you earlier. With that, she imitated Mu Yaja's noble and cold expression and coldly said, after all, a man and a mad dog can't communicate. With that, she collapsed on top of her in laughter. Yun Shirshir laughed as well. These words were indeed Mu Yaja's style. Just the thought of him spouting such vicious words with a cold and elegant face was enough to make her want to die of amusement. They were laughing. However, at this moment, everyone wanted to laugh but did not dare to. After knowing that Yun Shirshir's boyfriend's background was not simple, they felt a great distance between them. Some female classmates who did not get along with her were jealous to the bone. However, they could not show it on their faces. Yun Shirshir finished laughing and surveyed her surroundings with a puzzled look. Where is he? He and Mr. Wang are in the private conference room. Xiao Shui pointed to the closed door at the side. It was a small conference room. Mr. Wang? Who is that? What a coincidence. Mr. Wang is Gao Nan's uncle and the CEO of Wank Real Estate. I didn't expect to meet you here today. After a pause, Xiao Shui suddenly asked, Shirshir, who is your man? I think Gao Nan's uncle is very polite in front of him. I heard uncle call him young Master Mu. Gao Nan suddenly furrowed his brows and asked, Shirshir, who exactly is your boyfriend? Yun Shirshir raised her eyebrows but didn't want to talk to him. Huang Lili also asked anxiously, Shirshir, there were many misunderstandings earlier. I hope you don't mind. After what had just happened, Huang Lili no longer dared to find trouble with Yun Shirshir. The disdain on her face was gone and replaced with respect. I didn't know your boyfriend had such a high status. But didn't you say that your boyfriend is a company employee? Why, it did CEO Wang change his expression when he saw him. Huang Lili was still in a daze. She still couldn't react. Earlier, Wang Chuanda looked at Du Jiyan with disdain. When he was in front of Mu Yaja, he acted like a grandson. However, this couldn't be said openly. Earlier, Wang Chuanda carefully invited Mu Yaja into the conference room because he had a business deal to discuss with him. Mu Yaja did not refuse. At least, this was Wang Chuanda's territory, so he gave him some face. Yun Shirshir spread her hands. Yes, he is a company employee. But, Huang Lili, you don't have much knowledge and experience. Yun Shirshir explained matter-of-factly, a CEO is also a company employee. Huang Lili's face instantly turned awkward. Everyone sighed inwardly. Chapter 9:12. Yun Shirshir's boyfriend was the company's CEO, yet she was not as ostentatious as Huang Lili. Compared to her, the latter was too vain. What's your man's name? Xiao Shui asked nosily. Gao Nan frowned and said, I heard my uncle address him as Master Mu. In the capital, there's no one else who can make my uncle address him as Master Mu, other than the Muse. The moment he said that, Du Jian's face turned even gloomier. Everyone started whispering among themselves. It can't be, right? Mu Yaja. I've heard of this name before. I heard that he's the capital's Mu family CEO, Dishing Financial Group's. Gosh, it can't be. Dishing Financial Group's CEO? I heard Yun Shirshir's boyfriend say that he's an employee of Dishing Financial Group. Although his surname is Mu, he might be Mu Yaja's cousin. Just like Xiao Shui's boyfriend and that CEO Wang just now, they might not be Mu Yaja himself. Earlier, Huang Lili's boyfriend said that he knows Mu Yaja and even played golf with him. Why does it seem that Yun Shirshir's boyfriend doesn't know him though? That can't be. Yun Shirshir's boyfriend can't be Mu Yaja, right? Didn't Du Jian say that he knows the Mu Group's CEO? If it's really Mu Yaja, how can he not recognize him? The crowd continued to talk among themselves. Feeling his face burning, Du Jian cautiously asked, Yun Shirshir, is your boyfriend Mu Yaja? If it's really Mu Yaja. Du Jian thought of how he had shamelessly boasted that he had met Mu Yaja a few times and even played golf with him. He even said that he wanted to greet Mu Yaja and take care of him. Heavens, how could he have seen it for real? This was just bullsh** ting. Then if Yun Shirshi's boyfriend was really Mu Yaja, then wouldn't he be embarrassed? At this thought, Du Jiayin's face turned white as he fidgeted uneasily. He wished he could dig a hole in the ground and bury his face in it. Yun Shirshir ignored him. He sat down on the sofa. The waiter brought her some desserts. Huang Lili was also hungry. Due to the farce just now, she didn't have time to fill her stomach, so she shamelessly went to get some food. The waiter politely refused. "I'm sorry. Madam, the dessert was prepared by CEO Wang for Miss Yun." Huang Lili's lips twitched as she swallowed a mouthful of dust. Xiao Shui held her stomach and laughed. "Huang Lili, you still have the face to eat? Take your dirty hands away, it's disgusting." Huang Lili was furious, but she didn't dare to say anything. She could only retract her hand. In this class reunion she had really lost all face. Gao Nan, on the other hand, had mixed feelings. Initially, the reason he came to the class reunion was mainly because of Yun Shirshir, but tonight she brought a man along. He thought that it was because of the previous incident, so he specially brought a bodyguard to protect her. However, when he found out about this bodyguard's mysterious identity, the capital's Mu family, this man turned out to be Mu Yaja. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. In the beginning he was determined to get Yun Shirshir. After all, he would use all means to get any woman he fancied. As for Yun Shirshir, he was determined to get her and saw her as his. However, her man turned out to be Mu Yaja. Did they have a close relationship? Chapter 9:13. It turned out that Yun Shirshir was his woman. In that case, Gao Nan's confidence was dwindling. There was no way he could win against Mu Yaja. After all, no matter how one looked at it, Mu Yaja's status was much higher than his. How could he compete with him? Was he delusional enough to think of snatching a woman from him? Still, Gao Nan felt indignant at the thought of it. He did not know much about Mu Yaja, but he knew that the Mu family was a powerful and influential family in the capital. In that case, Mu Yaja must be a big shot. Forget it. Men, after all, always had some bad habits. Did he not know what kind of character men had? What kind of person was Mu Yaja? How could he be faithful to Yun Shirshir? He was probably just fooling around with her. That was what he thought. It was impossible for an influential man like Mu Yaja to fall in love with any woman. Women were just for fun. What about having only one heart for a lifetime and never leaving each other's side? Those were just words used to deceive little girls. Was there such a thing as being faithful in this world? Especially for someone like Mu Yaja who could command the wind and rain, there was no way he would be faithful to just one woman. As a man, he guessed that Mu Yaja was only interested in Yun Shirshir on a whim. He would get tired of her sooner or later. In that case, why not wait until he was tired of playing with her, and then get her in his hands? At that time he could play with her however he wanted and there would be no more worries. Now he could only wait patiently. Once Mu Yaja was done, it would be his turn. Wouldn't it be more fun to play with a woman Mu Yaja had played with? In the conference room, Mu Yaja sat in the boss's chair lazily. Wang Chuanda told him about a development project he was working on. He planned to develop a new building, but before that he had to win the bidding rights for this piece of land. This piece of land was a golden resource. In order to obtain the right to bid for this piece of land, it was necessary to establish a relationship with the main government. Wang Chuanda's mother was the sister of Gao Nan's grandfather, who was one of the founding fathers of the central government. However, although he was one of the founding fathers of the country and had a prominent position, he was still old and had long retired from the political scene. He no longer had any real power in his hands. In some aspects, his words naturally did not carry much weight. However, the Mu family was different. Mu Linfeng was Mu Yaja's fourth uncle. He had a military background and was very powerful. If he could work with the Mu family, he would definitely win the bid for this piece of land. Dishing Financial Group's financial strength was also very strong. If the Mu Group could clinch this cooperation, then the future prospects of this project would be extremely bright. Previously, Wang Chuanda had always wanted to meet Mu Yaja to discuss the development project. However, Mu Yaja had a lot of work to do, so he had to postpone the meeting again and again. Now that he had the chance to meet him here, of course, Wang Chuanda would not let it go so easily. The Mu family was rich and had a military background. If he could work with the Mu Group, he would be more than happy to see it happen. In terms of profits, Wang Chuanda was also very generous. He claimed that if the Mu Group was willing to open up a channel for Wan Ku, the profits would be at least 10 figures. 10 digits was already a considerable figure. It seemed that Wang Chuanda had gritted his teeth and put in a lot of effort to win the cooperation with the Mu Group. Wan Ku is going to bid for this piece of land just to build a villa? Chapter 9:14. Mr. Wang, You should know that the real estate companies under the Mu Group specialize in villa development. You said that you want to develop this land into an eco-villa park, but forgive me for being presumptuous, but in my opinion Jianghu real estate can't compete with the Mu Group when it comes to eco-villas, am I right? His words were arrogant, but they did not lose their decorum. Especially in front of Wang Chuanda, Mu Yaja actually addressed himself as a junior. It was obvious that he respected the man. It was not that Mu Yaja was arrogant. The Mu Group's real estate company was the #1 in the industry. It was unquestionably the leader and monopolized half of the real estate industry. In the real estate industry, Mu Group had always been working hard on the development of villas. Recently, a project under Mu Group's real estate, Yunshan Shi, was about to open for business. Yunshan Shi was the most high-end ecological villa in the capital city. Jianghu was indeed unable to compete with the Mu Group when it came to villas. However, even if they had the confidence to build a villa park that was more high-end than Yunshan Shi, wouldn't they become the Mu Group's competitor? How could Mu Yaja allow others to take a share of the pie? The Mu Group would never cooperate with a competitor. The meaning behind Mu Yaja's words was simple. The Mu Group had always been in control of the villa industry and would not allow other real estate companies to infringe on it. Wang Chuanda was shocked by his boldness. The man in front of him was young, aggressive and arrogant, but not rude. When he compared him to his nephew, he found that the two were simply incomparable. The student had surpassed the master. Every time he dealt with Mu Yaja, even though he was a sly old fox, he could not gain any advantage. The land that you have your eye on is Golden Osmanthus Garden, right? Yes, that's right. The Mu Group has taken the land next to Golden Osmanthus Garden and intends to turn it into a trade center. Since the garden is in a good location, the Mu Group will develop more eco-villas there in the future. If you're interested, why don't we work together? Okay. Then it's settled. Wang Chuanda laughed. Mu Yaja suddenly asked, "Is that Gao Nan your nephew?" When he said that, Wang Chuanda's face suddenly changed. He immediately became serious and asked carefully, "Young Master Mu, did I offend you in some way?" Huff. He snorted coldly but didn't speak. Only his pair of eyes faintly chilled. Wang Chuanda had been in the world of fame and fortune for a long time, and his mind was astute. He also knew how to observe people's expressions. Seeing Mu Yaja's expression, his face suddenly broke out in cold sweat. He guessed that his disappointing nephew must have offended this big shot, so he immediately lowered his face and apologized first. However, he had no idea how Gao Nan had offended Mu Yaja. Under his shameless questioning, Mu Yaja slowly opened his mouth. "That nephew of yours doesn't know how to behave." "What does young Master Mu mean by this? Why don't you tell me? If this brat does anything wrong, I will definitely teach him a lesson." Chapter 9:15. Mu Yaja's words were clear, but they were a little harsh. Wang Chuanda broke out in a cold sweat. His nephew was talented and had his own ideas, but he was still a young man. Wang Chuanda was busy with work, but he would occasionally hear rumors in the circle. His nephew did not have any other shortcomings, but he was especially promiscuous. This seemed to be a deep-rooted bad habit of many men, but it was especially carried forward by Gao Nan. Gao Nan must have been blind and offended Mu Yaja. "Is it because my disappointing nephew offended young Master Mu's woman?" he asked vaguely. Mu Yaja was non-committal as he cast a sidelong glance at him coldly. Wang Chuanda's guess was confirmed in his eyes, and he immediately said solemnly, "Master Mu, I'm really sorry. That lad has been spoiled by my cousin. I thought that he should be more careful now that he's old, but I didn't expect him to get worse. Don't worry though, I'll definitely teach him a lesson later." After saying that, he did not forget to put in a few good words. "Master Mu is young and promising. If my disappointing nephew can be half as good as you, I'll be gratified." When Mu Yaja and Wang Chuanda walked out of the conference room, the people outside had been waiting for a long time. However, they all had a tacit understanding and did not dare to complain. Huang Lili and Du Jiyan were the first to stand up, looking uneasy. Du Jiyan in particular, looked at Mu Yaja's cold face and nervously rubbed his palms. He wanted to go forward to greet and exchange a few words to at least resolve the awkwardness from earlier. However, seeing Mu Yaja's cold face, he did not dare to go forward. Huang Lili nudged him and secretly reminded him, "What should we do? Did we offend someone? You still dare to say it? Isn't it all because of you?" At the mention of this, Du Jiyan got angry. "If not for you, would you have offended so many people?" Mu Yaja walked to Yun Shishir's side and hugged her waist, gently asking, "Did you wait long?" "No." Mu Yaja's thin lips hooked up, and he gently planted a kiss on her forehead. The pampering in his eyes was almost pinched out of water. At the side, Huang Lily's eyes were so red that they looked like they were about to bleed. Previously, when she had first met Muyaja, she had felt that it was unfair. This man's handsomeness was almost godlike. However, she thought about it later. What was the use of being handsome? What could a small employee do? However, things were different now. Looking at how respectful Wang Chuanda was to Muyaja, she felt that she could not be compared to Yin Shirshir. What was so good about Yin Shirshir? How could she always gain the favor of such outstanding men? It was like this in university and it was still like this now? He was so jealous that his heart was about to be pierced. Wang Chuanda glanced at Gao Nan, only to see him staring fixedly at Yin Shirshir. The ambition in his eyes was undisguised. This further confirmed his guess. This lad actually dared to covet Master Mu's woman? He must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's guts. He took another look at Yin Shirshir and was equally amazed by her beauty. No wonder Master Mu and his nephew were so infatuated with her. This woman indeed had the ability to bewitch people. She was a seductive vixen. It's getting late. Let's go home, Muyaja said to her. The farce had ended here, it was time to end it. As for Du Jiyin and Huang Lily, he would deal with them. Chapter 9:16. Surrounded by the crowd, Muyaja hugged Yin Shirshir and was about to leave when Du Jiyin finally mustered up his courage and stepped forward. Muyaja glanced at him from the corner of his eye but ignored him. His gaze froze everything around him. It directly froze the movement of his feet. Du Jiyin was intimidated by his gaze. He did not dare to take another step forward. Muyaja calmly left with Yin Shirshir in his arms. Before leaving, Yin Shirshir looked back and smiled. Suddenly, she thought of something and turned to speak to Muyaja. Muyaja nodded and waited for her outside the door. She turned around and walked over. Du Jiyin saw her walking over and immediately went up to her with a fawning face. However, he missed as Yin Shirshir walked up to Meng Qinghe and looked at him. Class monitor, I heard that you're going overseas. I was in such a hurry that I didn't have time to prepare a gift. He immediately waved his hand. Shirshir, you're too polite. Why would I need a gift? Thank you. Yin Shirshir pursed her lips to express her gratitude. Meng Qinghe was a little confused. What's wrong? Why are you thanking me all of a sudden? I didn't have many friends in university, but you've always taken care of me. I feel that it's a pity that you're going overseas, so I prepared this. With that, she opened her handbag and took out a neatly wrapped gift. Meng Qinghe did not know what it was, but he took it in a daze. Meng Qinghe had a crush on Yin Shirshir during their university days. She was beautiful, pure, gentle, and outstanding in her studies. He had always regarded her as a goddess that no one could replace. At that time, there were a lot of rumors about Yin Shirshir, and the whole class did not like to be close to her. However, he believed her and even said to her, Shirshir, don't care about those rumors. I believe in you. Yin Shirshir had never had the chance to express her gratitude for his trust. Hence, this was one of her goals for attending the banquet tonight. I haven't had the chance to thank you. I hope you'll like this gift that I made myself. With that, she smiled and turned to leave. Du Jiyin wanted to chase after her to explain himself, but Yin Shirshir completely ignored him. Meng Qinghe watched her leave and the corners of his mouth curled up. He didn't have too many regrets about this class reunion. At least, he had a perfect ending to his youthful and obscure crush. At least, he could give himself an explanation. He lowered his head to look at the gift Yin Shirshir and caressed it with his fingertips. His eyes uncontrollably teared up. Xiao Shui leaned over and asked with a smile, Class rep, open it and see what Shirshir gave you. Go away. He laughed and pushed her away. Seeing the expression on his face, Xiao Shui could not help but ask in surprise, Class rep, don't tell me, you have a crush on Shirshir? No. Meng Qinghe frowned. Yes. In the midst of their frolicking. Soon, the waiter came over with the bill and handed it to him. He glanced at the bill and saw that it was 1 million yuan. His eyes almost blurred as his legs gave way and he collapsed to the ground. Huang Lily also went forward to take a look. She was so shocked that her face turned pale. Oh God. 1 million yuan. How many Gucci bags could he buy with that? When Meng Qinghe walked out of the private clubhouse, he sat in his car and opened the gift. Chapter 9:17. It was a graduation photo. However, there were traces of Photoshop. In the corner of the crowd, Yin Shirshir's graduation photo was photoshopped. When they graduated, Yin Shirshir only took a single graduation photo before leaving in a hurry. She did not even take a group photo with her. Without her, the graduation photo in the class could not be considered a complete one. Yun Shishir then photoshopped herself into a complete graduation photo. This was a small token of her appreciation. Meng Qinghe covered his mouth as tears of love rolled down his cheeks. Shishir, thank you, she would always be the goddess in his heart. When they left the private clubhouse, Gao Nan was about to send her home when Wang Chuanda called to summon him. He hung up the phone and said to her apologetically, "Is it all right for you to go home alone?" She reacted and immediately felt aggrieved. "Aren't you going to send me home? My uncle said that he wants to see me and is waiting for me. I think something must have happened. You can drive my car home." "I didn't bring my driver's license." She pursed her lips but did not want to make things difficult for him, so she said, "How about I take a taxi home?" Her words could not hide her regret. He immediately hugged her and kissed her forehead, saying guiltily, "I'm sorry. I'll definitely make it up to you next time." All right. Your uncle must have something important to talk to you about. I should be more considerate of you," she said. His lips curled into a smile. Her thoughtfulness moved his heart. Xiao Shui, after all, was different from those women. At the very least, she knew how to be considerate of him. He accompanied her until she got into the car and specifically instructed the driver to send her to the door before letting her go. He turned around and walked into the private clubhouse. In the office, Wang Chuanda was sitting in front of the carved tea table, sipping his tea as if he had been waiting for him for a long time. "Uncle, I'm here." Gao Nan smiled and called out before turning to close the door. Crash! A teacup flew toward him and landed at his feet, shattering into pieces. The sudden noise gave him quite a fright, causing him to jump in fright. Turning around, Gao Nan saw Wang Chuanda sitting at the tea table with an angry look on his face. The anger in his eyes was terrifying. It was the first time in his life that he had seen his uncle look at him with such a terrifying gaze. He immediately asked with some fear and uneasiness, "Uncle? What's wrong with you? You still have the cheek to ask me what's wrong. I'm going to lose all my face because of you." Wang Chuanda was so angry that his facial muscles were twitching. Right now there were no outsiders. In front of Gao Nan, there was no need for her to maintain her high and mighty demeanor. Her anger, which she had suffered at Muyage's hands, turned into anger and she vented it all on him. Gao Nan was baffled, but his mind was meticulous. After carefully reflecting on it, he smiled and walked to his uncle's side. Placing his hands on his shoulders, he rubbed them. "Uncle, don't be angry. I know I shouldn't have attended such a low-class banquet, but I'm doing this to accompany my girlfriend. I won't do it again." "You have a serious girlfriend?" Wang Chuanda didn't believe it when he said it. Gao Nan was a womanizer with countless women around him. He would be a fool to believe him. "You've met that Xiao Shui from the Xiao family in the capital." "The Xiao family?" Chapter 9:18. The Xiao family in the capital was rather famous. He had heard of them but had never come into contact with them. Wang Chuanda narrowed his eyes slightly and contemplated for a moment before asking, "Is her father Xiao Zheng from the Xiao group?" The Xiao family's reputation in the industry was quite good. It would be best if the Gaos and Xiaos were to unite through marriage. What the rich and powerful clans cared about was matching the social status of the two families. It was better than those women in showbiz. At least she was innocent. "Yes." "When did you get into a relationship?" "Just over half a month ago." Wang Chuanda pondered for a moment, and the anger in his eyes subsided a little. Gao Nan could have a proper girlfriend, and only then did his expression soften a little. "It's not that I want to nag at you, but you're not young anymore. Your mother has been nagging me about your marriage. As a man at your age, it's time to settle down and start a family. Don't keep getting entangled with those women in showbiz. I think this girl is not bad. Find a good day and bring her home to meet your mother so that she can feel at ease." Yes. Still, isn't it a little too early to settle down and start a family?" Gao Nan wanted to avoid marriage at all costs. The thought of it gave him a headache. He was still young. Why should he get married so early? Wang Chuanda reprimanded him. "Early? You're almost 28 and will be 30 soon. Is it too early? You should settle down early. Your grandfather has been nagging about having a great-grandson every day. Now that you're married, he'll also settle down." Gao Nan did not want to deal with this matter further, so he brushed it off with a few perfunctory words. He thought that this was the reason why Wang Chuanda was looking for him. However, he heard Wang Chuanda say sternly, "What's going on between you and young Master Mu? He's already complained to me. Let me warn you first, young Master Mu's people, don't try to do anything funny and don't try anything funny. Young Master Mu is not someone you can afford to offend. Gao Nan quickly understood. Did Mu Yaja say something to you? Wang Chuanda fumed. Be more respectful. Are you qualified to call him by his name? Gao Nan, on the other hand, was unconvinced. He and Mu Yaja were of the same age and generation. What was wrong with calling him by his name? Wang Chuanda seemed to have read his mind. Seeing the unconvinced look on his face, he snorted coldly and said, Don't make such a face. It's not that I'm looking down on you, but you're also 28 years old. How can you compare to him? I don't even have the face to tell others. Look at young Master Mu. He's young and promising, and he's already a big shot in the capital. And look at you? Sai, I don't need to scold you. If you call him young Master Mu in front of him, it's because of me. Otherwise, Uncle? Gao Nan was speechless. How can you insult your nephew like this? I'm just warning you. From now on, you're not allowed to offend young Master Mu's people. Do you understand? Wang Chuanda's gaze was sharp and his tone was firm. Regarding this matter, he did not go overboard. His harsh words were meant to give him a strong dose of medicine. Otherwise, if he continued to let this brat go on like this, who knew what kind of trouble he would bring to himself? I know. Gao Nan's face was perfunctory, but he was not going to give in obediently. He would wait until Mu Yaja got tired of the woman he fancied before he played with her. Anyway, it was impossible for him to give in obediently. Still, he could not let Wang Chuanda know what he was thinking. Chapter 9:19. Yeah. We're home. When they reached home, Yun Shirshir threw her bag aside and threw herself onto the soft sofa in her high heels. She did not look like a goddess at all. Mu Yaja closed the door and walked to the sofa. Just as he sat down, Yun Shirshir snuggled into his arms and hugged his waist. She buried her face deep into his warm embrace. Mu Yaja gently stroked her hair on her forehead. His slender fingers slowly twirled a lock of hair around her temples and then gently released it. He leaned against his body lazily and held the side of his head with one hand as he twirled her hair around his fingers. His jet-black hair contrasted with his fair skin. It was as if this was very interesting and he could not bear to let go. Yun Shirshir seemed to be tired and let him play. In the bedroom, Yu Yu and Xiao Yichen looked at each other in surprise when they heard the door open. Mommy is back? Yes, she must be. Thus, the two little guys opened the door and ran into the living room. However, Xiao Yichen's sharp eyes caught sight of Mu Yaja hugging Yun Shirshir on the sofa. He immediately turned around and carried Yu Yu back. Yu Yu felt a blur in front of his eyes before he was carried back by Xiao Yichen. Just as he was about to speak, Xiao Yichen covered his mouth with his chubby little hand and signaled him to keep quiet. Shu, what are you doing? Daddy and Mommy are hugging each other. Xiao Yichen was so excited that his face was flushed red. What? Yu Yu's expression changed and he wanted to go to the living room. Xiao Yichen immediately pulled him back. He was very strong and pulled him back in an instant. Yu Yu looked unhappy. Mu Yichen, what are you trying to do? You can't ruin Daddy's plans. Xiao Yichen pouted. It's rare for me to see Daddy and Mommy making progress. You can't mess things up. Yu Yu was speechless. Yu Yu? Xiao Yichen blinked innocently at him. Yu Yu couldn't do anything to him. I'll just watch. I won't cause any trouble. You said it? Yu Yu closed his eyes and sucked in a deep breath. Yes, I said it. Pinky swear. Xiao Yichen was still in disbelief. She gave him the finger. Yu Yu's patience had reached its limit. Mu Yichen, pinky promise. Xiao Yichen ignored the impatience on his face and hooked his pinky. Yu Yu pursed her lips and gave him a tug. The two little lads then tiptoed behind the wall and sneaked a peek at the sofa. Yun Shirshir looked up at him and gently poked the man's chest with her finger. Mu Yaja raised his eyebrows and glanced at her. What's wrong? Was today's class reunion boring? Mu Yaja pondered for a moment. No. Yun Shirshir's eyes widened in disbelief. I thought you would find it boring. Isn't it interesting? Your classmates are really interesting. Yun Shirshir nestled in his arms and rubbed her fingertips. She was obviously a little uneasy. She remembered that Xiao Shui had said a lot of bad things about her when she went to the bathroom. Even if it was untrue, he still heard it. He didn't ask her about it along the way, so she didn't know if he heard it. Mu Yaja saw her complicated expression and pursed lips. He didn't know what she was thinking about. He couldn't help but pinch her cheeks. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking. Yun Shirshir pondered for a moment and decided to ask about it. Chapter 9:20. She stared at his face, not wanting to miss the slightest change in his expression. Mu Yaja frowned slightly, but he did not try to hide it. Yeah. Did you say that I was kept by someone when I was in university? Yun Shirshir tried to probe further. Mu Yaja frowned slightly. Yeah. Then you. Yun Shirshir looked extremely conflicted. Suddenly she asked, do you believe it? What do you think? Mu Yaja raised his eyebrows. Clearly, he felt that her question was unnecessary. I don't think you'll believe it, Yun Shirshir said. Only someone as stupid as you would believe such a clumsy rumor, Mu Yaja said bluntly. Yun Shirshir smiled. That's right, that's right. Halfway through her sentence she stopped abruptly. Yun Shirshir suddenly realized that he had actually attacked her intelligence. The smile on her face suddenly disappeared, and she glared at him angrily. However, when she saw that he could not hide the smile on his face, she became even angrier. She complained unhappily, Hey, you're even attacking me? Since when did I attack you? You just said that there's something wrong with my intelligence. That's the truth in front of you, stupid woman. Mu Yaja felt that her reaction was too slow. Her reaction was so slow. How am I stupid? Yun Shirshir defended herself. If I'm stupid, how could I have given birth to such a smart baby like Yu? Yu, who was hiding in the corner, felt extremely satisfied when he heard this. He straightened his body slightly and brushed his bangs shamelessly. Xiao Yichen glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. This younger brother of his was quite shameless. Mu Yaja, who was sitting on the sofa, asked in all seriousness, Are you sure that he inherited your genes? What else could it be? If you weren't so stupid, you might be smarter, Mu Yaja said from the bottom of his heart. Yun Shirshir was deeply hurt. She wrinkled her nose in grievance and pouted her lips high. How am I stupid? How am I stupid? I'm very smart, okay? Praise me. Quick, praise me for being smart. Yun Shirshir refused to admit defeat. She started messing around in his arms, pounding his chest with her small fists. She was acting coquettishly towards him. It was rare for her to act coquettishly, but when she did, she had her ways. The man was quickly defeated. Okay, you're smart. Mu Yaja was too lazy to lower himself to this little woman's level, so he coaxed and lied to appease her. You don't really mean what you say. Looking at Yun Shirshir's tangled little face, Mu Yaja intimately rubbed the tip of her nose, then planted a kiss on the corner of her lips. His deep eyes met hers. I just like your stupidity. He just liked her clumsy appearance. She was so cute and adorable. He just couldn't get enough of her. Yun Shirshir blushed and her heart raced at his words. She held her breath for a moment and looked at his handsome face that was just inches away from her. Her heartbeat was actually disrupted by his ambiguous breath that was close to her lips. She bit her lips slightly, her snow-white teeth leaving a faint imprint on her red and tender lips. His gaze fell on her tightly bitten lips, and he couldn't help but give them a light peck. After that light peck he couldn't hold it in anymore. He caressed her cheeks and kissed her without restraint. He gently pried open her lips and engulfed her sweetness and beauty. Xiao Yichen and Yu, who were hiding in the corner, covered each other's eyes at the same time. Chapter 921. Xiao Yichen and Yu, who were hiding in the corner, covered each other's eyes at the same time. However, the two little lads couldn't suppress their curiosity and peeked through the gaps between their fingers. They couldn't help but blush when they saw the scene in front of them. What a beautiful scene. It was even more beautiful than the kisses in idol dramas. Mu Yaja held her cheeks and gently traced the outline of her lips. Then, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, he gently sucked away the saliva on her lips. Yun Shirshir hooked her arms around his shoulders and responded to his kiss. The kiss was charming and gentle. Both of them were deeply immersed in the sweetness and couldn't extricate themselves. Xiao Yichen couldn't bear to watch any longer. He covered his eyes and dragged Yu back to the room. Yu raised his hands in protest. What are you doing? I haven't seen enough yet. Aren't you ashamed? You peeked at Daddy and Mommy kissing. You're a pervert. Xiao Yichen covered his burning cheeks and accused him. Yu felt that he had been shot even though he was lying down. He retorted unhappily, Mu Yichen, what do you mean by I'm a pervert? Didn't you see it too? Xiao Yichen couldn't say anything and didn't try to explain himself. He hugged Yu and climbed onto the bed. Yu, go to sleep. Yu, however, after what had just happened, Yu couldn't fall asleep at this moment. He saw the happiness on his mommy's face. For the first time in his life, he saw the undisguised happiness in her eyes. It seemed like his mommy really liked his daddy a lot. If that was the case, then he decided to protect his mommy's happiness and not allow anyone to destroy it. The temperature in the living room continued to rise. Muyaja lifted her skirt and wanted to use this kiss to elevate their relationship. However, at this moment he heard a gulp. Yun Shirshir's expression froze. Muyaja was also stunned. Who's calling? Goo. Another sound came from Muyaja's stomach. It was too much of a killjoy. The originally ambiguous atmosphere was immediately destroyed. She held her breath and pressed her ear against his stomach. She raised her head and blinked. Looking at him, she couldn't help but chuckle. Hungry? Muyaja's gaze, however, was fixated on her smiling lips. He was hungry. No matter which aspect it was. Then I'll cook for you, okay? Yun Shirshir sat up. Muyaja followed her words and slowly looked down. Yun Shirshir looked at his burning gaze that kept moving downwards. Her face turned red and she immediately knew what he was thinking. She immediately reached out to hold his face and lifted it up. Hey, don't misinterpret my words, okay? Misinterpretation? Muyaja's eyes were slightly puzzled, as if he did not understand. It was as if she was the one who was thinking dirty and not him. Yun Shirshir's face turned slightly red. She pursed her lips and said, I said if you're hungry I'll cook noodles for you. Don't think too much, okay? Muyaja merely smiled and did not tease her further. Okay. He was really hungry. Hence, Yun Shirshir went into the kitchen to prepare. She rummaged through the cabinets and realized that there were not many ingredients left in the house. Usually, Yu was very particular about the amount of food she prepared for dinner. Basically, it was just enough and there would not be any leftovers. Even if there were leftovers, they would not leave it for the next day because it was unhealthy. Hence, there was only instant noodles left in the house. Yun Shirshir raised her eyebrows. It was better than nothing. Chapter 922. She had not been in the kitchen for a long time, so it was inevitable that she was rusty. Naturally, her culinary skills could not be compared to Yu's, but the taste was still palatable. When she placed the instant noodles and stir-fried vegetables on the table, Muyaja was hugging a pillow and closing his eyes to take a nap. She approached him quietly and saw the tiredness on his face. Although she could not bear to disturb him, she still gently woke him up. The noodles are ready. Muyaja was startled awake. His gaze sharpened for a moment, and then his vision cleared up. When he saw Yun Shirshir's warm smile, his gaze softened and became calm again. Yun Shirshir was stunned. When he opened his eyes just now, there was a strong murderous look in his eyes. It was very scary. Muyaja saw the slight change in her expression and could not help but ask, What's wrong? Your gaze just now for a second, it was very scary. She said truthfully. Did it scare you? Yun Shirshir nodded. When I was in military training, I had to be alert at all times even when I was sleeping, Muyaja said. Is that so? Yun Shirshir immediately said, The noodles are ready. Hurry up and eat. It won't taste good when it gets cold. Muyaja sat at the table. When he saw that the so-called noodles were actually instant noodles, his eyes were filled with disdain. Instant noodles? He snorted coldly. This stupid woman. She used this to brush him off? Can't I? There's only instant noodles at home. You can suffer for a while. It's better than going hungry. Muyaja was still disdainful, but he was really hungry. Therefore he did not care so much. He picked up his chopsticks and started eating. He took a bite. Tasted pretty good. It was not his first time eating instant noodles. The first time he ate it, she cooked it for him. The first time she cooked it, the taste was barely satisfactory. This time the taste seemed to have improved. Your skills have improved. Muyaja blurted out a compliment that was not really a compliment. Yun Shirshir was speechless. She looked at him silently, the corners of her eyes twitching. Does making instant noodles depend on one's skills? Even an idiot could do it, okay? However, she did not dare to say this. Therefore she felt that Muyaja was that idiot. He definitely didn't know how to make instant noodles. Such a high and mighty man had never had to worry about food and clothing. Every bit of his life was taken care of by others. How could he step into a place like the kitchen? Muyaja lowered his head and ate the noodles. He ate one mouthful after another very quickly, but he didn't make a single sound. Ever since he was young, he had been bound by the rules of the nobles. He was not allowed to make a single sound at the dining table. He sat up straight and the hand holding the chopsticks was slender and fair. Even though he was eating something as cheap as instant noodles, he still maintained the elegant demeanor of a noble. His noble aura seemed to be emitted from his bones. Yun Shirshir sat opposite him and propped her head up. She watched him eat one mouthful after another. Soon the bowl of noodles was empty. Is there more? Muyaja looked up and asked. Yun Shirshir looked up and was stunned. She looked at him anxiously. Not enough, not enough, not enough. She had cooked 3 packets of noodles, but it was still not enough for him. This man had an appetite that was disproportionate to his lean figure. It was a little unscientific. She went into the kitchen again and cooked 3 packets of noodles. Soon she came out with a big bowl of noodles and placed it in front of him. Chapter 923. Wuxia took mouthful after mouthful of noodles and wiped them clean. Not a single strand was left. He seemed to be really hungry as he even finished all the soup. Wuxia put down the bowl and stared at her with his dark eyes as he raised a brow. Yun Shishir asked carefully, "Are you full?" "No. But I'm not particularly hungry," Wuxia replied. She sucked in a deep breath of cold air. She suddenly felt that she should get to know this man again. Why didn't she realize that he had such a big appetite before? "If you're full, then wash the dishes," Yun Shishir ordered him with a smile. Wuxia's eyes narrowed and he said, "I don't know how to." "If you don't know how to, I'll teach you." "If that's the case, why don't you do it yourself?" Wuxia asked calmly. This question stumped her. Yun Shishir frowned and said, "It's already hard for me to make noodles for you." The man's eyes twitched. What was so hard about making a few bowls of noodles? Hence, he said, instant noodles should be easy to make. He glanced at her. She was clearly the one who wanted to slack off. "How about this? We'll decide by rock, paper, scissors. The loser will wash the dishes." Yun Shishir stood up and rolled up her sleeves proudly. Wuxia, who was sitting in his chair, nonchalantly raised the corner of his eye to look at her and readily agreed. "Okay." At this moment, the atmosphere in the restaurant was strange and heavy. Yun Shishir stared at Wuxia fiercely. She slowly rolled up her sleeves and raised her fist high. "Rock, paper, scissors." "No, let's do it again. Best of 3. "You, don't go back on your word." Yun Shishir glared at him. "Rock, paper, scissors." The air froze for a moment. Wuxia smiled and retracted his hand, crossing his arms elegantly. Yun Shishir was so angry that she almost threw herself onto the table and vomited blood. What was going on? She lost again. Yun Shishir pointed at him angrily. "You cheated. You must have cheated." Wuxia lazily knocked on the table, but his eyes were full of smiles. "Miss Yun, please pay attention to your demeanor. As the saying goes, if you agree to a bet, you must accept defeat." Yun Shishir endured and clenched her fists. How could she just let it go when it was related to a person's dignity? She wanted to pester him for another round, but Wuxia ignored her. Yun Shishir could only unwillingly carry the bowls and chopsticks into the sink. With a face full of grief and indignation, she took the steel wire ball, squeezed some detergent and started to scrub it. Suddenly she heard footsteps behind her. Following that, a pair of long arms slowly wrapped around her waist, and a warm and strong body pressed against her back. Wuxia then hugged her waist from behind, and his chin gently rested on her shoulder. His warm breath gently rolled around her cheeks, as if he was teasing her invisibly. Yun Shishir was stunned, and her hands unconsciously stopped moving. She unnaturally tugged at the corner of her lips and said with a stiff smile, Hey, what are you doing?" Wuxia didn't say anything but reached out to hold her hands. At that moment, her hands were still stained with the foam and oil from the detergent. He held them gently, and his fingertips gently caressed them as he stared at the calluses on her hands. Her 10 fingers were very slender, and this kind of hand was born to play the piano. It was beautiful and clean, and she could easily cross an octave. Chapter 924. Yun Shishir widened her eyes in shock. Why was this man suddenly interested in her hands? She was still washing the dishes, and her hands were covered in detergent and grease. Didn't he find it dirty? Furthermore, her hands weren't considered good-looking. Why was he staring at them? In reality, she hadn't done much housework since she was young. However, after the Yun family fell apart, she started to learn how to do housework. When she was in university, she worked part-time. She remembered that when she was in university, manicures were popular in class. Almost every girl in class would happily get their nails done during the holidays. However, she couldn't do that. She had to work part-time. If she had manicures, it would be inconvenient for her to work. At that time, the most she did was wash the dishes. She had to wash thousands of dishes a day and her back hurt. Her hands were also soaked in grease all year round, so they were a little rough. At one point she felt dejected. Her hands were originally fine, but they were now so ugly because of her. The more he stared at them, the more embarrassed she felt. She retracted her hands, but he held them tightly. Yun Shishir was a little annoyed. "Why do you keep staring at my hands?" Wuxia chuckled softly all of a sudden and casually remarked, Your hands are so ugly. Yun Shirshi's face darkened instantly. She gritted her teeth and said, Muyaja, are my hands as ugly as you say? He smiled. But when I look at them again they look pretty good. Yun Shirshir was stunned. She thought that she was hearing things. Huh. One moment he said that her hands were ugly. The next moment he said that they looked pretty good. Why was this man so contradictory? Why do you have so many calluses? He suddenly asked in a deep voice. Yun Shirshir retracted her hands unwillingly and slapped his hands away. She then buried her head in washing the dishes again. Suddenly she pretended to be relaxed and said, I used to wash dishes often. Perhaps it's because I was soaked in grease all the time. It's a part-time job. When I was forced to, I even did heavy work. Heavy work. A moving company. You even do that? It can't be helped. The salary is high, so. Yun Shirshir didn't continue. The kitchen was silent for a moment. Muyaja didn't say anything, but she said indifferently, someone like you who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, who didn't have to worry about food and clothing, who came from a rich and powerful family, how could you understand the lives of poor commoners like us? If you're used to eating delicacies, how would you understand that there are people in this world who would not hesitate to move bricks just to fill their stomachs? She suddenly raised her eyebrows and said, I have a classmate who works part-time to study. You, on the other hand, probably don't have to worry about this. So Muyaja, isn't there a world of difference between the worlds we grew up in? There was no movement behind him for a long time. His breathing was still soft and warm. In the kitchen, only the sound of water could be heard. He didn't speak for a long time. It was so long that Yun Shirshir mistakenly thought that she had said something that angered him. Suddenly she heard him say, So, God let you meet me. Yun Shirshir was stunned. God loves you and thinks that you should be happy, so he let you meet me. Muyaja smiled. And God is a little jealous of me. He thinks that my life is too extravagant, so he let me meet you. Chapter 925. Muyaja continued slowly, God felt that he should dote on you, so he let you meet me. God also felt that I was living too comfortably, so he let me meet you and be annoyed by you all day long. She suddenly burst out laughing. Are you trying to coax a child? Yes, aren't you a child? Yun Shirshir's face darkened. Of course I'm not. I'm already a mother. But in my eyes you're still just a child. Hey Muyaja! Yun Shirshir instantly turned her head away in dissatisfaction. Before she could finish her sentence, a fiery kiss landed on her lips. It was a soft kiss, but it was a quiet kiss. It wasn't as wild and domineering as before. She widened her eyes in astonishment and blinked in surprise. Her eyelashes brushed past his eyelids and intertwined with his eyelashes. Yun Shirshir furrowed her brows slightly. She looked up and bit her lip hard. Who kisses with their eyes so wide open? Yun Shirshir swallowed softly and pretended to be calm. My eyes are naturally big. Even if I don't open them, they'll still be big. Muyaja pursed his lips. So, do you have to twist the meaning of my words? Yun Shirshir pursed her lips and smiled. She smacked her lips and pretended to be generous. She smiled and said, All right then. Then I'll take it that I'm at a disadvantage. Let's do it again. Thus, she closed her eyes and pouted mischievously. She couldn't help but open her eyelids slightly, looking like she was teasing him. Muyaja's eyes twitched fiercely. Why was it that no matter how good the atmosphere was, it was always so easy to ruin it when it came to her? He really wanted to slap her face. Thus, he flicked her forehead hatefully and said, Go wash the dishes. With that, Muya turned around with a frown. Behind him, Yun Shirshir's laughter could be heard. Haha, you're shy. Ah. He turned his head coolly to glance at her, only to see Yun Shirshir wiggling her butt and sticking her tongue out at him. Muyaja glared daggers at her. When he turned his face, he could no longer suppress the indulgent smile on his lips. He walked to the balcony and made a call. This call was to Du Buxiong. Just now, when Yun Shirshir was cooking noodles, he ordered someone to send him Du Buxiong's number. The phone rang for a while before it was picked up. Then Du Buxiong's sleepy and confused voice came from the other end. Who is it? Director Du, who are you? Du Buxiong asked in puzzlement. Muyaja. He introduced himself. The person on the other end was stunned for a moment before exclaiming in surprise, Oh, it's Chairman Mu. Du Buxiong instantly sobered up. At first he was still a little skeptical. This Muyaja was such a distinguished big shot. Why would he take the initiative to call him in the middle of the night? He was a little flattered and smiled flatteringly. Director Mu, what made you call me personally? I'm really afraid. Yun Shirshir finished washing the dishes and walked out. Seeing Mu Yaja standing on the balcony making a call, she didn't disturb him. She went into the bathroom to take a shower and lay down comfortably on the bed. On the other side, Mu Yaja stood on the balcony facing the night breeze, but didn't speak for a long time. On the other end of the phone, Du Buxiong was holding the phone. Seeing that he didn't speak for a long time, he went from being wild with joy at the beginning to trembling with fear at the moment. His thoughts kept changing. Chapter 926. At this moment, Mu Yaja no longer had a smile on his face. His face was cold and emotionless, but his eyes were deep and bottomless. Du Buxiong was a somewhat famous nouveau riche in this city. It was said that he had made his fortune through construction projects. His business was going smoothly and he was considered a little famous in this industry. However, not to mention the Muse, even when compared to the Songs and Gaos, the Du family was not considered a so-called prestigious family. They were just nouveau riche. To Mu Yaja she could not be any more insignificant than this. If Mu Yaja was a mountain, then Du Buxiong was only a small sesame seed. According to his character, he would not bother to deal with such a small figure. However, it was different this time. Tonight, Huang Lili and Du Jian's ugly faces were really disgusting. He thought that the Du family was a prestigious family and specially ordered someone to check on Du Buxiong's background. Alas, this was the result. At the same time, he also learned that Du Buxiong had some cooperation with the Muse. Although it was called a cooperation, it was actually a cooperation between Du Buxiong and the Mu Group. Du Buxiong had contracted a few projects under the Mu Group's name. Du Buxiong placed great importance on the Mu Group's projects, but to the Mu Group, he was just a contractor that could be replaced and re-tendered at any time. This Du Buxiong was dispensable. Hence, in front of Du Buxiong, he personally announced that his cooperation with the Mu Group's projects was cancelled. He would be replaced and re-tendered. With just a few simple sentences, he obliterated all of Du Buxiong's painstaking efforts in one fell swoop. Du Buxiong anxiously asked what had happened. Mu Yaja said meaningfully, "You should ask your precious son about this matter." With that, he hung up the phone without giving him a chance. He would have sent someone to announce this matter to Du Buxiong, and it would have ended there. He personally called him to tell him about this matter as a form of respect. In addition, he also beat around the bush and asked Du Buxiong to ask his son about it. After hanging up the phone, Du Buxiong was still confused. However, he vaguely felt that his son must have caused some trouble for him again. Speaking of his son, Du Buxiong was filled with anger. It was one thing for him to indulge in debauchery and gambling, but this son of his was spoiled by his wife to the point that he was used to being rebellious. It was one thing for him to be flamboyant outside and cause trouble for him. But now they actually provoked the Mu family? Mu Yaja was someone a small family like the Du family could afford to offend. This time Du Buxiong was infuriated. One had to know that there were two types of disasters. The first type could be solved with money. On the other hand, if you provoked a big shot, you couldn't settle it with money. A contractor like him had always looked at the faces of big shots in this circle. As long as Mu Yaja said the word, wouldn't it be a matter of minutes for him to go bankrupt? In short, Mu Yaja's phone call was like a bolt of lightning on a sunny day, making Du Buxiong restless. He sat on the bed anxiously and smoked a few cigarettes. He was really worried, so he called the company. The company had underwritten the Mu Group's real estate project and was working overnight. However, when the call came, they said that the Mu Group had cancelled their project overnight. How could this be? Chapter 927. Right now he could not even sleep well. His mind was filled with Mu Yaja's cold voice. Thinking of that hair-raising warning, he felt even more uneasy. He hurriedly picked up the phone and called his son, who had caused so much trouble for him. As soon as the call was connected, he vented all his anger on him. "Where are you now? Come over here." On the other end, Du Jian was at an entertainment clubhouse. The environment was noisy. Tonight's class banquet had embarrassed him, so under Huang Lili's suggestion he invited a group of classmates to the clubhouse to have fun. Du Jian, who was having a good time at the clubhouse, picked up the call a little late. The moment he picked up, he heard his father's anxious roar. Confused, he asked blankly, "Dad, what's wrong with you?" Since young, Du Buxiong had doted on him, relying on his mother's doting. Never once did he yell at him or even lay a finger on him. Now that he heard this sudden outburst of anger, he was instantly dumbfounded. Du Buxiong heard the noisy environment on the other end. This lad still had the mood to fool around outside at such a critical time? He said unhappily, "What kind of good thing did you get into for me? Get back home now. I have something to ask you." "Good thing? What good thing?" He hadn't done anything good recently. He had only done some harmless bad things. However, he was still in the middle of singing and had not enjoyed himself to the fullest. He was a little indignant that he had to go back now. Du Jian thought about it and decided to use his old trick to coax his father. "Dad, can't we go later? I'm still having fun with my friends, we're only in the middle of it." Bang! He seemed to hear the sound of something heavily hitting the table. It was ear-piercing and exuded a strong murderous aura. Du Jian was so shocked that his breathing stopped. He did not dare to continue speaking. He knew that Du Buxiong was angry. Very angry too. "I don't care what happened. Anyway, I'm only giving you 20 minutes. Get back home now. If I don't see you in 20 minutes, I won't be polite to you." With that, he hung up the phone. Du Jian was dumbfounded as he held the phone. He blinked his eyes in bewilderment and hung up gloomily. Seeing this, Huang Lili asked carefully. Du Jian snapped, "How would I know what happened? My dad told me to rush back." This was only the beginning. "I'm not high yet." Huang Lili was reluctant to part with him. "What's there to play? You know my dad's temper. Once he loses his temper, it's out of control. Hurry up and go back." Thus, the two of them didn't even have time to say goodbye to their friends. They rushed out of the house, hailed a taxi and sped all the way home. Even though he did not know what was going on, he was still on tenterhooks. He had seen how Du Buxiong looked when he was angry. It was terrifying. Now that he had to face it, he really couldn't take it. He practically sprinted all the way home. Leaving Huang Lili in the living room, he walked into the study room and opened the door. He saw Du Buxiong pacing back and forth in front of the window with his hands behind his back, looking furious. Hearing the sound of the door opening, he turned around abruptly and swept a pair of sharp eyes at him. Chapter 928. Now that he had to face it, he really could not take it. He practically sprinted all the way into the house, leaving Huang Lili in the living room. Walking into the study, he pushed open the door and saw Du Buxiong pacing back and forth in front of the window with his hands behind his back, looking furious. Hearing the sound of the door opening, he abruptly turned his head and swept a pair of sharp eyes at him. Du Jian was instantly shocked by this gaze and took a few steps back as a layer of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He shrunk his shoulders in trepidation and stammered, "Dad? What's wrong with you? Why are you looking for me?" Du Buxiong glanced at him again before walking to the table and sitting down. Seeing that his son seemed to be frightened out of his wits, he seemed to realize that he had lost control of his emotions. Looking at his precious son, he could not help but suppress his anger and temper. He knocked on the table and said in a low voice, "Sit down." Du Jian furrowed his brows and slowly sat down at the table. He sighed helplessly and asked coldly, "Jian, what have you done to offend someone these few days?" "Offend? Who did I offend?" Du Jian cocked a brow. He did not think too much of it and shook his head with certainty. "Nothing. Tell me the truth." Du Buxiong frowned, his tone hardening. Du Jian felt aggrieved. "Dad, I really didn't. Do I look like the kind of person to stir up trouble? What's wrong with you? It's as if you've eaten explosives. You're denouncing me the moment I come back." Seeing his father's increasingly ashen face, Du Jian's voice became softer and softer. Eaten explosives? You're pushing your dad to his death." He shouted, "What did I do? I didn't do anything." "You didn't do anything? You didn't do anything, yet that person called me. How did you offend that person?" Du Jian was getting more and more confused. "What do you mean by, that person? Who is this that person?" "Dad, even if you want to blame me, you have to let me know clearly." Okay. Then I'll let you know clearly." Du Buxiong picked up his teacup and gulped down a few mouthfuls. He then sighed and asked with a frown, "Jian, how did you anger Master Mu?" "Master Mu?" Du Jian raised his brow strangely. His heart. However, he didn't dare to admit it. "And which Master Mu?" Du Buxiong lowered his voice. "Dishing Financial Group CEO Mu Yaja." "Yes, you didn't offend him, but you bullied his people. Aren't you embarrassing him?" "His people?" Du Jian had a bad feeling about this. Could it be that his father knew everything? "Who is it?" he asked knowingly but did not dare to say it out loud. Chapter 929. Du Jian was a little frightened, but facing his father's frightening gaze, he subconsciously wanted to cover up the good deed he had done out of guilt. Thus, he softly and perfunctorily said, "Dad, I really don't know any young Master Mu. I don't care what grudges you have with young Master Mu, nor what you've done to him or what he's done to you. In any case, you'd better settle this matter properly." Hurry up and apologize to him properly. Just as he finished speaking, Du Jian raised his voice in disbelief. Dad, what did that young Master Mu do to you? You seem to have eaten explosives. Du Buxiong was already in a fit of anger. Seeing that his son was not giving him a way out, his anger flared up again. He was so angry that he wished he could give him a tight slap. Alas, this was his son whom he had doted on since young. His hand was raised high, and if he really wanted to slap him, he really did not know how to do it. Clenching his hand into a fist, he slammed it on the table. The table groaned in pain as if it were about to crack. Du Jian jumped in fright and was tongue-tied as he stood rooted to the spot. He had never seen his father treat him so fiercely. He guessed that something must have happened, so he told him everything in detail. After saying that, he observed his father's expression and carefully asked, Dad, I really don't know his identity. If I did, would I have offended him like this? Also, what happened? Because you offended young Master Mu, the Mu Group's real estate company canceled my case. Recalling Mu Yaja's cold and heartless voice, he gritted his teeth in hatred and said angrily, Aren't you digging a grave for our whole family? Is young Master Mu someone you can afford to offend? Are you really tired of living? It's fine if you're tired of living, but are you planning to drag the whole family into the fire pit? Du Jian was a little disapproving. Isn't it just the Mu family? No matter how big the world is, can it be bigger than the emperor? I've really never seen the emperor before, but in the capital, the Mu family is really a well-known figure. Du Jian was stunned. Du Buxiong coldly glanced at her and said in a deep voice, The Mu family's business is huge and they have businesses all over the world. No one knew how vast the Mu Group's empire was. They only knew that the Mu family's assets were the driving force of the entire financial world and the core of the entire Asia's economy. What's even more frightening is that the Mu family's connections are very extensive. From the government to the government, there are people from the Mu family everywhere, not to mention the inextricable connections in other fields. Even in Beijing, the mayor had to give young Master Mu some face, let alone your old man. Let me tell you, whether you play in the open or in the dark, you are seeking your own death by going against Mu Yaja. You have picked the wrong opponent. You don't even know how you died. How ugly was his death? Du Jian's lips twitched stiffly as he asked in disbelief, Is it really that exaggerated? Chapter 930. It doesn't matter who you bully, but you can't bully Master Mu. Do you understand? I still want to live for a few more years. It wasn't easy for me to climb to where I am today. Can't you give me a way out? Du Jian's expression was complicated when he heard this. He opened his mouth in a daze, still somewhat doubtful. Dad, is that Mu Yaja really that scary? I don't know how powerful the Mus are. I only know that if he steps on me, my entire foundation will be destroyed. Du Jian fell silent. After taking a shower, Mu Yaja walked to the two little lads' bedroom. When he pushed open the door, the bedroom was warm. The electric fan was blowing and the air conditioner was not turned on. The two little lads were covered with a blanket each and were already asleep. Yu Yu's sleeping posture was considered elegant, but Xiao Yichen's sleeping posture was still as rude as usual. One of his legs was hanging on Yu Yu's body as he slept soundly. Mu Yaja walked over and saw Yu Yu frowning slightly. Even though he was asleep, his face seemed to be full of disdain. Xiao Yichen was probably too restless in his sleep, so the two lads tossed and turned for a while before falling asleep. He reached out and pinched the little lad's brows until the crease between his brows was flattened. Then he lowered his eyes and planted a kiss on his forehead. This was something he had always wanted to do. In the past, when he was at the Mu residence, he would return home later when Xiao Yichen was already asleep. He would then go to his room and give him a goodnight kiss. Other than going on business trips, he would do it almost every day. However, Yu Yu's goodnight kiss seemed to be 7 years late. It was probably not too late, right? Mu Yaja rubbed his hair dotingly and walked to Xiao Yichen's side to kiss his forehead before leaving. After the door closed, Yu Yu opened his eyes groggily. He felt as if a tall figure had come to his window, kissed his forehead, and then left. Was it Daddy? When Mu Yaja walked into the bedroom, Yun Shishir was surprisingly awake. She leaned against the headboard with heavy eyelids. When she saw him enter the room, she immediately pulled up the blanket and covered herself tightly. He closed the door. Not asleep yet? Yun Shishir nodded absent-mindedly. I'm waiting for you. Mu Yaja was stunned for a moment before his lips curled into a faint smile as warmth filled his heart. On the other side, he calmly took off his pajamas and said in a deep voice, If you're tired in the future, you can sleep first. You don't have to wait for me. After taking off his pajamas, his muscular body was exposed to the air. His chiseled chest, well-defined muscles, and the perfect curve of his lower abdomen. It was so firm that there was no excess fat at all. It was comparable to a top model's body. Yun Shirshir did not care about what he said. The moment she opened the door, all she could think about was admiring his body. Her gaze was a little dazed. Muyaja was a shrewd person. When he saw her gaze, he knew what she was thinking. He smiled and asked, "Have you seen enough?" Yun Shirshir finally came back to her senses. She licked her pink lips and nodded. "I've seen enough." Muyaja asked again, "Do you want to touch it again?" He was openly behaving like a hooligan. Yun Shirshir shook her head decisively and said sourly, "What's so great about having a good body?" Chapter 931. You're not allowed. He sat by the bed and rejected her without thinking. Yun Shirshir furrowed her brows. "Why? You're already so skinny. If you lose any more weight, you'll turn into a skeleton spirit." Yun Shirshir said pitifully, "I'll look better if I'm skinnier. I'll look more photogenic if I'm skinnier." So what? Hugging her made him uncomfortable. She still had to have some meat on her body. Otherwise she wouldn't be able to fill his arms. Yun Shirshir said, "I feel that I've gained a little weight recently." Tell me, if I get fatter will I become a pig?" Muyaja said calmly, "You don't have to wait until then. You're already as stupid as a pig now." That one sentence was like 1,000 arrows piercing through her heart. Yun Shirshir was very hurt. The lights in the bedroom suddenly went out. Muyaja covered himself with the blanket. Yun Shirshir was stunned. In the darkness she couldn't see anything clearly. She had been losing a lot of nutrients since she was young. As a result, she had severe night blindness and was very afraid of the dark. It was also from a very young age that she stayed at home alone, facing the darkness alone. She was so afraid that she hid under the blanket. It was also because of this that she developed a bad sleeping habit. Her hands groped in the direction of Muyaja. "Hey Muyaja. You." Her hand was suddenly held tightly by a warm palm. With a strong pull, she was embraced by a pair of arms into a broad chest. His faint voice came from above. "I'm here. It's time to sleep. Behave yourself." "Am I very restless when I sleep?" Yun Shirshir said angrily. "Your sleeping posture is very indecent. You're just like a koala bear." Yun Shirshir was speechless. Muyaja pulled her into his arms and locked his arms. He smiled and said, "Go to sleep." Yun Shirshir blushed and mumbled awkwardly. She gently closed her eyes and fell asleep after a while. Muyaja gently stroked her hair, pursed his lips and planted a light kiss on her forehead. The next day Yun Shirshir woke up early. Muyaja was still sleeping, so she tucked him in. It was rare for him to have a day off, so she wanted him to sleep a little longer. She tiptoed to the bathroom, tidied herself up and set off for the set. When she was about to leave, she received several missed calls from unknown numbers. She pursed her lips but did not return them. She was in a rush to get to the set, so she ignored them. After the elevator scare that day, Mushi exposed the hotel on the internet, which immediately led to accusations from the netizens. At the same time, it also revealed that the hotel often had people stuffing flirtatious little cards, so privacy was not guaranteed and so on. The hotel was a chain of express hotels. The general manager of the hotel specially opened a Weibo account and stood up to apologize, but it still couldn't calm the anger of the netizens. What a joke. Gu Xingze and Yun Shirshir were trapped in the elevator, and the video was exposed on the internet. This caused the fans of Gu Xingze and Yun Shirshir to join forces to suppress them. In short, the outcome was tragic enough. The hotel manager wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy. After a while the commotion died down. Of course this was all in the future. She went back to filming. After some adjustments, Yun Shirshir recovered to her best state. On this day she received a mysterious gift. It was a Mercedes-Benz nanny van. When Qinzhou handed her the keys to the nanny van, she was surprised. "What's this?" "Yes?" She carefully looked at the Mercedes-Benz logo on the car key and was a little puzzled. "Mercedes-Benz?" "Aha," Qinzhou said, "a nanny van." Chapter 932. I can't afford to give such a big gift. Then who gave it to you? Qinzhou looked askance at her, his eyes unreadable. Yun Shirshir probed carefully, Muyaja? Who else could it be? This isn't very appropriate. Yun Shirshir felt a little guilty. In the production team, Yang Mi and Gu Xingze both had nanny vans. In the industry, a celebrity having a nanny van seemed to be a symbol of status. There was a nanny van. After filming, they could sit in the nanny van and rest. Previously, Yan Bingqing also had one. However, even though she had a nanny van, she still had to fight for Yun Shirshir's resting room. However, as a newbie who had just debuted and already had her own nanny van, it was inevitable that she would be gossiped about. What are you afraid of? Who dares to gossip about you? They'll all be banned. Yun Shirshir was amused by his bold attitude. Qin Zhou briefly explained the situation to her. It turned out that Mu Yaja was afraid that she would be tired from filming and would not be able to rest well, so he bought a nanny van for her. The nanny van was an RV. The car was parked in the production team's parking lot. Qin Zhou brought Yun Shirshir to take a look. The nanny van was luxurious, with a bathroom, living room, TV, video, refrigerator, dressing table, and other facilities. Yun Shirshir did not show it on her face, but she felt sweet inside. He was actually so considerate for her, probably because he was afraid that she would be too tired from filming. In the afternoon, Yun Shirshir had just finished filming when Mu Shi looked for her, saying that someone was looking for her outside the production team. Who is it? Mu Shi shook her head. How could she know them? She only said, I don't know them. It's a man and a woman. They couldn't get into the production team, so they got someone to pass a message that they have something important to discuss with you. Coincidentally, she had just finished filming. Since someone was looking for her, it should be something important. Walking out of the set, Yun Shirshir saw Du Jiyin and Huang Lili standing at the entrance from afar. When they saw her, their faces immediately lit up with flattering smiles. This smile was too flattering, too brilliant, and had the intention of currying favor with him. As soon as she saw her, Huang Lili immediately approached her and handed her a bottle of lemonade. She then rubbed her palms together. Shirshir, you must be tired from filming. Have some water first. Yun Shirshir lowered her head and glanced at the water in her hand. She was startled at first. This bottle of water was of a good brand, and it was especially expensive. It probably cost more than 10 yuan per bottle. He was obviously trying to please her. But if he ignored her, he would be hiding evil intentions, wouldn't he? Thus, without even looking at it, she casually threw it into the trash can and said calmly, Sorry, I'm afraid it's poisonous. The smile on Huang Lili's face froze, but she didn't say anything. She just said, Look at you. What are you talking about? How could there be poison in the water? Shirshir, you really like to joke. How did you find this place? Yun Shirshir's face was a little wary. Ever since the class reunion, she had received many messages from her classmates. Out of courtesy, she had also added them to the WeChat group. The WeChat group had already kicked Huang Lili out. As for what happened that day, everyone had a tacit understanding and didn't mention a word about it. They were also overly enthusiastic toward her. It's probably what happened that day. Yun Shirshir guessed. Chapter 933. Yun Shirshir was on high alert. What are you guys doing? Is there something you can't say here? She felt that these two were up to no good. Du Jiyin in particular had previously been condescending toward her, but now he was extremely enthusiastic. His fawning face in particular made her even more vigilant. Don't worry, we don't have any other intentions. Don't think too much. Huang Lili said softly. Actually, it's because something happened at home. You should know. I don't know. Yun Shirshir then added, I don't think it's anything important. I still have scenes to shoot, so I'll take my leave first. With that, she turned to leave. Seeing this, Du Jiyin panicked and hurried forward to stop her. In a moment of desperation, he grabbed her arm. Yun Shirshir only felt the area he touched burning and immediately swatted his hand away. What are you doing? Don't get touchy. Sorry for the offense. Du Jiyin smiled obsequiously. Shirshir, I've asked around at the set. You finished filming today? He had rushed to the set earlier and handed out a few cigarettes to the security guard at the entrance. He only dared to look for Yun Shirshir after knowing that she had finished filming. Yun Shirshir narrowed her eyes. Seeing them like this, it seemed that something had really happened. She thought for a moment. Since it was broad daylight and they were at the entrance of the film set, they couldn't do anything to her. Thus she said, I'm very busy. If you have something to say, don't drag it out. Then shall we find a quiet place? Follow me. Yun Shirshir turned around and walked toward the limousine. Huang Lili and Du Jiyin exchanged glances before following closely behind. However, when they saw Yun Shirshir get into a limousine, they were both surprised and envious. What a grand limousine. This car must cost a few million yuan, right? Her heart was filled with jealousy and envy. Yun Shirshir was no longer the same as before. People really could not be compared to each other. She looked at Du Jiyin beside her and then thought of Mu Yaja whom she had met that day. They were both boyfriends, so why was there such a huge difference? On second thought, Yun Shirshir was from the entertainment industry. Rich and powerful families were particular about this. An actress like her would only be favored for a short period of time. Could it be that she could marry into a wealthy family and have a meteoric rise? The rich and powerful looked down on actors and actresses in the entertainment industry. With this thought in mind, she followed Du Jian into the RV. Yun Shishir poured a cup of tea for each of them. When the three of them sat down, she went straight to the point. If you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. Since she had already said so, he was naturally more than happy to oblige. Hence he said, it's like this. That day during the class reunion, you know it too. Is there some misunderstanding? What misunderstanding? Yun Shishir raised her eyebrows. Anyway, no matter what the misunderstanding is, it's all in the past, isn't it? Shishir, I didn't mean to offend you. You can say that I'm blind, or that I'm measuring the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. Isn't it all in the past? Isn't it good to let bygones be bygones? His tone was very sincere and his face was full of reverence. Yun Shishir was a little confused by his words. Is there anything you can't say clearly? I really don't understand what you're saying. Chapter 934. Du Jian recounted the incident in detail. It turned out that, since that day at the class reunion, Du Jian and Huang Lily's actions had clearly offended Mu Yaja. He did not say anything because, in his eyes, small fries like Du Jian and Huang Lily were not worthy of his condemnation. Take the simplest example, if a mad dog barked at you by the roadside, would you bite it back? Just because he did not say anything did not mean that he would let it go. However, the things they had said and done had made him unhappy. Since he was unhappy, then he had to do something to make them unhappy as well. This was his character. On the surface he did not say anything, but behind his back, he could flatten the Du family's foundation with just a finger. It was unknown what methods Mu Yaja used, but after that day the Du family's projects with the Mu group were all cancelled. The cooperation was written in black and white. This matter was considered a breach of contract by the Muse, so the Du family could bring the contract to their doorstep. However, did he dare to? With the Mu group's powerful background, they could cover the sky with one hand in the capital. Where could he go to sue? Be it in the legal world, the political world, or even the Supreme Court, there were people from the Muse. The Muse had openly breached the contract and slapped them in the face, but did Du Buxiong dare to sue? He did not even dare to let out a fart. Cancel it? So be it. He still had other projects on hand. Although the cases that he had worked with Mu Group were lucrative, since his son had offended them, Du Buxiong could only grit his teeth and swallow his pride even if he was unwilling to do so. Fine, I'll admit it. What else could he do? Go against the Muse? Alas, he did not expect things to be so simple. Mu Yaja's methods were swift and decisive. He had always been ruthless. Since he had made up his mind to do something, he would not give up until he forced the other party into a dead end. The next day, news came that the boss, who had always been on good terms with Du Buxiong, had committed suicide by jumping off a building. Suicide by jumping off a building? Why did something like this happen at such a critical juncture? Du Buxiong was terrified when he thought about it. He knew very well that this matter was definitely related to the Mu Group. This was not the end of it. Several projects that he had worked with had either been maliciously acquired or exposed to scandals of collusion between officials and businessmen. One of the project's legal representative, who had worked closely with the Du family, was suspected of corruption and bribery. The amount of money involved was so large that even the central government was involved in the investigation. Du Buxiong's heart skipped a beat. In order to protect himself, he had no choice but to stop the development of the project. The unforeseen events of the past few days had caused Du Buxiong to be unable to sleep soundly. His entire being was in a trance. Due to various problems, all the cases on hand had been interrupted. How could there be such a coincidence? Why didn't it happen earlier or later? Why did it have to happen now? It was obvious that someone was behind all of this. Was the Mu Group trying to force him into a dead end? Even if the contract was terminated, the losses caused by the stagnation of the project were in the millions every day. Millions, what kind of concept was that? In just a few days he was heavily in debt. If this continued, the Du family would be completely finished. Chapter 935. He was well aware that the Mu family was making things difficult for him. Having been in the capital for so many years, he had accumulated some connections, but at this critical juncture he could not use them at all. He went to seek an audience, but the other party refused to see him. What a joke. Who would dare to be related to him at this time? Did he want to be taught a lesson? Du Buxiong was mentally and physically exhausted. Due to his exhaustion, he had a heart attack and was now lying in the hospital. Yun Shishir glanced at him and then at Huang Lily. Both of them looked haggard. When it came to emotional parts, they were in tears. This was especially so for Du Jiyin, who had watched helplessly as the Du family's great foundation was destroyed in his hands. His father's foundation, which had been built over half of his life, was destroyed with just a few words from Mu Yaja. He blamed himself endlessly. Naturally, he was afraid and hated Yun Shirshir. At the same time, he knew how important this woman was in Mu Yaja's heart. Even if he hated her to the core, he did not dare to offend her. Yun Shirshir listened without any change in her expression, but she was also sighing in her heart. She didn't know anything about these things. However, she was also a little dazed. She did not expect that Mu Yaja could destroy the Du family with just a few words. This was too exaggerated. However, this was the truth. Yun Shirshir said in a low voice, "Actually, you're asking the wrong person, right? I can't decide the life and death of the Du family. I don't have the ability to do so. But, you can definitely help us, right?" Du Jiyin looked worried. He seemed to have aged a few years overnight, with a few strands of white hair growing on his head. Huang Lili remained silent at the side. In fact, when the Du family got into trouble, she already had thoughts of retreating. Husband and wife were birds in the same forest, but when faced with a disaster, they flew away separately. Moreover, she and Du Jiyin were not married yet. With such a thing happening to the Du family, she naturally wanted to leave unscathed and find another branch. However, Du Jiyin did not know what she was thinking. He threatened that if she dared to abandon him at this critical juncture, he would kill her. Huang Lili was scared and didn't dare to do it anymore. Du Jiyin was depressed and his resentment toward Huang Lili had reached its peak. He had always been concerned about his reputation, and he loved Huang Lili very much. He used to be a playboy, but when he met Huang Lili, he wanted to settle down and start a family. But who would have thought that a class reunion would bring him such a calamity? His current mental state was already on the verge of collapse. After experiencing all these things, he suddenly became mature overnight. He also knew that he was insensible and had brought a devastating disaster to his family. Seeing Yun Shirshir biting her lips and remaining silent, he suddenly made up his mind and knelt on the ground with a plop. His actions shocked Huang Lili. She immediately felt embarrassed. She was already so down and out in front of Yun Shirshir, but he still knelt down in front of her. Where was she supposed to put her face?